Call the meeting to order of the Griggs County Commission. Must be 1 o'clock. Stand for good. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll. John.
Here.
Dale.
Here.
Ron. Sean.
Here.
Troy's here. Approval of the agenda. Do you guys see any corrections or additions need to be made?
To approve the agenda as presented.
Been moved by Dale to approve the agenda as presented. Is there a second to the motion? Seconded by Sean. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, let's revisit the minutes from May 8th this time. When you read those corrections, is that how you guys wanted them stated?
That looks right to me.
Okay. Motion to approve as amended.
I move to approve the May 8th minutes as amended.
Moved by Sean to approve the minutes from the May 8th Commissioners meeting as amended by the auditor. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Seconded by John. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. May 22nd.
The minutes are correct, but subsequent to that, Lindbergh Brothers did pull out, so, and I forgot to put it on the agenda.
You lost me?
Oh, on the minutes here, it says
Oh, yeah,
to
yeah.
approve Lindbergh Brothers proposal.
That's right.
That's exactly correct. But subsequent to that, they were unable to do the job because of the scheduling conflict, and we were going to go with somebody else. So maybe at some point in time.
We can talk about that at
Yeah.
our new courthouse.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
As long as
Okay.
I move then to approve the May 22nd minutes as presented and dispense with the reading.
Been moved by Sean to approve the minutes as presented of the May 22nd Commissioners meeting. Is there a second to the motion?
that's good.
Seconded by Ron. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, move on to the bills.
Jamie should be coming soon with the resolution to pay that CWB loan bill.
curious how we ended up paying $1,820 to the Barnes County, for the Regional Corrections Center to Barnes County, and then we ended up paying Trail County $3,055 for Regional Corrections. Is that, I haven't seen us do that before.
I think sometimes when they have a DUI, they end up going that direction.
Oh, is that what it is?
I wonder, we'll have to ask Bob, but I wonder if they get pulled on in Barnes if they don't go to trail.
I think it has happened.
Has it?
Rare occasion, yeah.
Okay.
Would you like to see the,
Yeah, if you can find it.
okay, so it's the Barnes County?
Well, there's one to Barnes County and one to Trail County. Altogether, it's almost $5,000.
What's the 10-8-22 that have to have a state bank that says FAR supplies?
Must be tires or something.
What?
Old ones?
The loan payment on a gravel truck.
Ah, okay. Oh, good. It's one of them fishy deals.
It's a hidden public debt.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
It's not really a supply, is it?
Nope. Yeah, I can't really figure it out. I'm sure Amundsen, he lives in Trail County. Or, yeah, he lives in Trail County. Probably both of these guys live in Trail County, but why we're paying Trail, I'm not really sure.
What's that?
No, we're paying Trail County $3,055 and for G. Amundsen and J. Hagan. And I thought that was people that live in Trail County that have to be driven down.
They live in Steele County, both of them.
Steel, I thought, yeah.
And that Jake Hagan deal, that was when he broke Wes's leg up here.
Okay.
And I wonder if he's on like work release. So on the weekends, Jake gets to go spend the weekends in Hillsboro.
Oh,
And then he gets out and goes to work for Lakeside Construction. I see him every morning and get coffee.
I suppose.
So apparently we have to pay Trail County for his room and board on the weekends. And I don't know if, do we get reimbursed? I don't know how, if the individual has to make restitution, I'm not so sure. No, what's the Amundsen name?
Gene?
He's-
Gene?
It's a letter G.
Oh, Gene.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he's the one, I know he's Doug Strand's cousin, and he's been in a lot of trouble. And for a while, they had to drive him down to Barnes County and stuff. But anyway, yeah,
That's not Gene though.
okay, yeah. Yeah, so anyway, I'm satisfied with it.
Yeah.
And then when I ran my report, the only one that was coming over budget would be the KLJ for the FAR engineering, but that is the one that we get reimbursed just as
That's an in and out account.
correct.
Yeah. Well, it's a modified in and out account. It runs a balance, but it's in and out as far as, yeah.
Yep,
Okay.
that's the only one that I have.
Okay. Anything else in the vouchers?
I have a addition, if that was taken out of the wrong account
What?
for the truck, because road equipment work, there's a road equipment minor. There's a fund in there up to 10,800 comes free, and I think that was supposed to be used for that truck. So I don't know if the wrong account number was written on the voucher, I didn't look at that, I guess. We can straighten that out.
Straight, it probably shouldn't be out of supply. Well, technically, there is no right account to take it out of, but I mean, we gotta carry through and fix it. So if it was budgeted, if you budgeted
Budget
on it, then we need to switch that to what it should be. And it should be out of what?
I think
Major, it's supplies? No.
Minor
it's
equipment.
in FAR supplies here. So
Right, yeah,
print it out.
but it should be under equipment, should be on,
Road equipment. 652 would be the last one. 2130, 4311, 652.
Got that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Good deal.
I move to approve the May bills and the June vouchers.
Been moved by Sean to approve the May bills and the June vouchers as presented. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Seconded by Dale. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Dale?
Aye.
Ron?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Troy votes aye. Motion carries. Monthly reports.
I move to accept the monthly office report as presented.
Been moved by Sean to accept the monthly office reports as presented. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Seconded by Dale. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. You the man.
Okay, first of all, let's go to page 30. It's not printed as mine on the contract. Page 30 and 31 is the resolution for the chip seal for this year. The bid, May 2015 bid opening. And the current low bidder is Asphalt Surface Technologies Corporation in the amount of $729,065.81. The county board concurs in awarding the project. Please execute the resolution and turn it to our office.
What did we have for a projected cost on that?
The estimated cost was $620,000.
680,000,
$680,000.
right around 680,000. So it's about 7% over what the engineer's estimate was. Which I did talk to DOT about that, and they said that 7% will still be covered 80-20 with federal funds. So we were kind of wondering, you know, if it was the county enough to eat all that extra cost, but we don't. So.
50,000 more.
So was it like 40,000 or something like that?
So it'd be 10,000 more to the
10,000
county
more to the county.
Yeah.
at 20%.
Yeah.
I remember we had some discussion on the price of oil. Was the original estimate taking into account that you guys were anticipating oil prices to be lower? Is that part of the?
Yeah, I think we adjusted it a little bit.
Danny talked about something.
I can't remember about that, and this project also has the fog seal after the chips are put down, you know, the oil's put down in the chips, and afterwards it's going to be sprayed with fine mist of oil to try to bind some of those more chips together. That's what the state's been doing now in a lot of their projects, and it seems like it maybe adheres together a little bit more better. The road is blacker, which is, I asked if they had complaints about that at night, and they hadn't had too much difference, but it does warm up faster in the wintertime, so I thought I saw. So that adds a little bit of cost, but I think that was probably figured in the,
Yes.
in the estimate.
Yeah.
But evidently the cost of oil didn't go down much. But the second bidder was the one that had our project last year, Morris Seal Court. I don't remember what that was.
Their bid was 3,000 more than Aztec.
3.
Yeah, 3. So it was a really close bid.
I'd guess.
So.
So I guess my recommendation would be to go ahead, and it's just going to cost an additional $10,000.
What are your wishes, fellas?
I'd move to accept the bid from Asphalt Surface Technologies Corp. for $729,065.81.
Been moved by Dale to accept the bid from Surface Technologies Corporation for the Seal Coat projects. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Seconded by Sean. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Dale?
Aye.
Ron?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Troy votes aye. Motion carries.
Then we'll go back to page 17.
Do you have the original resolution to sign?
I think Sam has.
Go ahead, man.
I'm going to let Jake order until I have the explanation of the project selection list and the map attached.
Alright. Well, Wayne and I met and discussed some more possible projects that the state funding could be used for. 4 projects that have already been approved by DOT are on there also. They're options 1 through 4. Options 5 through 9 are the other or additional projects, which those projects we're going to have approved by the DOT at the regional meeting on July 27th. But we wanted to get your guys' input first to see if you wanted to go ahead, or if you like those projects, and we will only present the ones that you guys would like to move forward with. I'm not sure if you guys have had much time to look through the map on that table, but we can kind of go through each one if you'd like. Option 1, like I said, that was approved at the last DOT meeting. In option 1, we actually have 2 sub-options. Option 1A would be to reconstruct those 2.1 miles on Highway 10 between North Dakota 45 and Steele County. And then option B would be to just gravel those two miles. Option 2 would be graveling the Sutton Road south of the pavement all the way to Lawrence County. Option 3 is the grade raise west of Binford. And then option 4 is that Highway 15 from North Dakota Highway 65 to Nelson County. And that one, I guess, Wayne, if you want to jump in and talk about that a little bit too, there's some culvert.
Yes, one day Jake was laying the Macville Road there, and as he went across those double culverts around the Hood Guards, the road caved in, and there was a 4 by 5 foot deep hole there. So we went out there with the backhoe, and I dug down to the top of the culvert. Well, the culvert's kind of twisted a little bit, separated about that much on the south end, and it tapered together. So we just had to go to town, get some fabric, and we put a double layer of geotextile fabric across the top, and then we backfilled it with grass because it was running full with water. Both pipes were running full of water. I don't know how long they've been in there. And it's kind of been a wish of mine because we've had problems with ice and stuff coming in there, and we plug in whatever to maybe replace them. I don't know how long they've been there, but. And so the day that Jake and I drove around and looked at the roads and stuff, then we added that on just as a question mark. We don't know what size it's going to take, what it would cost, so there would probably have to be a hydraulic study done prior to that to decide what size culvert for everything. Otherwise, we'll have to dig it out. If not, then we should get it back together.
Are they concrete?
They're metal. They're steel, they're galvanized, and they've been in there since, I don't know when. But
Are they rusty?
they're kind of rusty. Rusty, you can't tell. I mean, maybe you can now. The bottom is, a lot of times the bottom is rust out first. The top looks pretty good.
If it's just water.
They are too short, you know, while it drops off right there. And water swirling and stuff is causing erosion for the banks to slide down. But you'd have to request to get a hydraulic study done. We're going to find out if we're going to go ahead with that graveling. It would be good, and this is something that we've done next year. It would be good to get those culverts replaced with one culvert maybe versus 2, larger one, or some type of a structure. Okay.
Yeah, and with that, one of the other, we'll get to the option 9, but option 9 is looking at that, the Greg Dahl Bridge on Highway 23. And to know what we would have to put in there, we'd also have to do a preliminary hydraulic study. So we could do both in the same shot, which talked to the bridge engineers, and they were thinking it would cost about $6,000 to $8,000 to do them both together, to size the culvert so we can get a good cost estimate together. But that's a decision you can make later. Just wanted to make sure you guys know what's all involved there. So I guess moving to the next one, option 5. We looked at graveling Highway 3 from North Dakota 200 all the way up to Nelson County. 16 miles of graveling. Option 6 is we looked at Highway 22 from Griggs County Highway 3 to Griggs County Highway 19. Option 7, we looked at Highway 28 from Griggs County Highway 3 to Griggs County Highway 19. And then option 8, let's see, option 8. Oh, it was the overlay, 1.5-inch overlay to bring that pavement from Sutton to the gravel up to 105.5. And then option 9, like I talked about, was be a structure replacement at that Greg Dahl Bridge. Now, I did talk to DOT about that a little bit, and he said it would qualify for federal aid also. So that might be a better route for the county to go, because that would be 80-20. But then we could use state funding for some of these other projects if you'd like to go, or like to go forward with these. He said basically, as far as the bridge funding, we have the one bridge already on the list, the Decker Bridge. And he said what we would have to do is prioritize the two of them. One of them could probably go in 2016, and one of them could go in 2018. Or they have funding available those years to do both of them. So, all of these estimated construction costs, I mean, I just got to keep in mind that they are estimated. Like we've seen on the seal coat, the prices fluctuate quite a bit, and it depends on fuel prices and what the completion dates are. It's going to be tight for the contractor to get it done.
Would you put in a box culvert at Griggs?
I don't know exactly what
It would be a really large box culvert. I guess we'd probably put a double in there. But to know that for sure, we'd have to look at a hydraulic study. I would say it'd be on the larger end of the box culverts that are put in for sure. Because yeah, we went and looked at that, and that's a deep ravine, I guess, that bridge passes over.
the funding pays for box culverts also.
Yeah, yep. This bridge funding covers box culverts too.
What process do you have to go through to prioritize that bridge over that type of?
That thing doesn't drain very much real estate, it just comes
No,
fast.
Just flushes through there like a toilet.
On this $3.3 million, how long does, first of all, does it have to be allocated immediately, and then how long after that does it have to be spent, or can we allocate it and then change its allocation down the road? I mean, when does it have to be done?
Okay. DOT, you basically have to have projects bid by a year from December. DOT doesn't want us to wait that long because if we show that, I mean, they're talking to all the counties here. If the counties show that we have the needs and we get this money spent right away, in the next session we'll probably get more money. But if they see a lot, millions of dollars not being used right away, then they're not going to give us as much on the next go around. That's what DOT is telling us. Now the Senate Bill 2103, so the 1.8, like I said, latest bid date would be December 2015. For the House Bill 1176, latest bid date would be, as far as I know, I haven't heard a lot of information on this bill. Latest bid date would be December 2017. So.
So if we can get some more projects approved, it just gives us more options going forward.
I think anytime through this process, you have the right to reject, accept or reject any bid. If it looks like we're looking at too many projects and the bids are coming out too high, then we're gonna have to scale back the number of projects. That's why we kind of want to.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with that. I think we can have as many projects as possible, but personally, I don't like the idea of just compiling projects just to spend the money. Taxpayer money is taxpayer money, whether it be Griggs County taxpayer or the state taxpayers or the federal. And the notion that we got to spend this money in a hurry so that we can get more doesn't sit well with me. But I'll only one vote here. The other part of it is, I would really like to see the projects entail at least the possibility of a local contractor being able to bid on them. I like the fact that we could use the graveling projects fit in well because it's going to be local The gravel's gonna be sourced locally, so that's staying in the community. Hopefully we have a local or semi-local contractor that would bid on it. The dirt work, that hopefully could be local, you know, the pavement, once we spend money on pavement, that just all goes out of the county. That doesn't do us a whole lot of good. We bought money in and put some other funds with it and sent it away. I don't know if that's a benefit to the citizens or not. But I agree, we have to prioritize and get a big list to draw from, whether, I'm just not in agreement whether we just spend all the money for the sake of spending the money, or whether we spend it on priorities that we actually need and will be able to benefit.
Well, we've had a need, of course, for years that, you know, wanted to do stuff and couldn't do it because we never had the funding to do it. So thankfully, it was as oil, and it's probably going to stop. But and the good thing is with these Senate bills and House bill, there's no local match.
No,
You know, and it includes the engineering and everything. So there's, per se, out of the Griggs County taxpayer, there's no. You know, I'm sure we all pay for the oil, I suppose, but it's oil tax revenue. So yeah, where do we go from here? That's like we said, we have those first 4 projects.
mm-hmm.
Do we decide we want to do the paving? Because that makes a lot of difference. I mean, kind of talked about maybe not.
And then that little
County
stub
Road
highway up there?
Yeah.
I don't think that's prudent at this point, because you'd have to do so much dirt work to make that work.
Well, we looked at that too. I remember, you know, there's on one side of the road there isn't much ditch towards the east end. Because I think it used to be or it wasn't CRP and it drifted in there and filled in. The
Well,
ditch
it's
and
just a
stuff.
sandbox out there, you know.
Yeah. And then there's a couple culverts, and then if you have to change put the right of way and change the curve and stuff like that, well then.
I don't think we want to do that.
We can get more bang for the buck, I think, of gravel.
Plus, there's a corner down on the bottom of the hill. Would you have to make that into a curve?
I don't remember if both those corners. Well, I think the one, you know, where you're headed towards the church, I think
Yeah.
that had to be. I think John had the right of way to make that into a curve.
Oh, so that's recorded? You got an easement on that?
Yeah, but see, they expired 2 or 3 years after the project, after the easements were received. If the project wasn't done, then
Oh, you'd have to
it went back to the original.
Then the easement expired.
Oh,
Yeah, in there that the easement expired.
all that real estate's changed hands by now.
The grade raise, I don't know, we probably wouldn't have to raise the whole thing up. It's the farthest west section that's really the lowest, and then now it's not that far from with all the rain and stuff we had. The farthest to the east, there's the water splashing against the, you know, maybe we could, but still the water was
It's a waste.
not too far down. We could rip wrap it more, you know, but.
It's just if Foster County isn't gonna do anything, what's the purpose?
Well, they're not gonna do anything now, but, you know, like I said, they'll have more distance down to the water than we do in Griggs County. You know. So ours will be the first one that goes underwater.
It'd be pretty embarrassing to be able to spend $1 million on it and have it go underwater and then have it just stop right there and then have to look at that for the next 20 years. I think we certainly have to, we can't be able to build it to nowhere. We have to be assured it's gonna eventually go through. We don't know if the water's coming up.
I can't say forever, but you know that,
Does it run out of there?
Yeah.
no.
Well, it runs, no.
It goes,
It's
doesn't it
in a
run?
big basin.
It goes to the north there and then,
Yeah.
and there's a proposal to dig a ditch through the hills up there. It isn't been approved yet.
Yeah. There was.
They started digging it.
They were gonna do it, and then the state says we're not in the draining business.
Yeah.
So they raised their road up 8 feet or 9 feet.
South of McHenry.
Yeah.
But there's culverts through that, isn't there? Right, and then they started, then they went out in the hills and they started digging
They-
out in the hills, but then they got shut down. So there was gonna be proposed grade that was gonna go south there.
Is that all part of the same
Yes.
All the same street.
level?
Yep.
All the way to
It takes a
South-
while going through the roads. It eventually seeks the same level all the way from Briss's. It starts right there. You know where Lauren Briss lives, west of Red Willow.
Or
That slew system in there.
Donnie.
Donnie, excuse me, starts there and it goes all the way to the west, southwest. Yeah, eventually it all seeks the same level, doesn't it? Yeah.
So that is all one piece of water.
Yeah, if you could remove all the roads and everybody else that put everything else that got put in there, shelter belts and fence roads, it would all be one big slew. The way it looks fine outward.
Yeah, it'd be great if they would have put a pipe in there just so it got a certain level and then
That's what they started digging from the hills up there because they were taking the fill for the crossing out of the hills there, and then they were going to incorporate that into the ditch somehow, but that never happened. I guess.
And that would go to Bald Hill Creek or something?
Yeah, it would get through the hills, and once it got south, then it's a pretty much downhill from there. Once it got on the south side of that hill.
went to Bald Hill Creek.
Yeah. And I don't know what shut that off, but that was the issue. And on the plus side of it, that one could possibly be a local contractor do the dirt work for it. Possibly.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they could do it.
I mean,
I
depending
mean, we could do it on your own.
depending
If you want to do it on your own, we could do that. That short stretch, you know, it cost a couple $100,000 probably. But then you're the paving it, yeah. And Jake did talk to Ryan.
Yep, I talked to DOT and they said if we have to bring it back to the existing conditions, if we would decide to do a grade raise.
That to be paid.
So it would have to be paved at the end. We'd have to have a paved road. We couldn't have a quarter mile or half mile unpaved in there to receive federal funding in the future on that road.
Well, is that project in Foster County's selection list, or are they looking at that?
No, I just talked to Nate that one day after this meeting here, and he just stated they had like 90 miles plus miles of pavement, and they were adding 4 new miles by Griggs City. And so in this round of funding anyway, it wasn't in there. Thing is, if it does go underwater, there is a possibility of ER. It isn't FEMA, but it's similar to it. It's a federal aid. Emergency relief is called. That's what raised up a lot of the Devil's Lake state highways and stuff. And we've got the that road there. Both roads, Tony Road 3 going south to Iverson's and the Blacktop. We raised that up. 2 places. The Helen Slough and then around the curves there by Anthony Patterson's land there. With the air front, so. It's possible, but the thing with that is it's gotta go underwater first.
And there also has to be
Otherwise,
not
you-
necessarily a statewide event, but a regional event, and then a declaration of emergency by the governor.
Oh, sure.
So like in 2009, 2011, there was not a problem if your road went under, you were getting ER money. But that would have to happen again, something like that.
So we can leave that one for now again, and I've already presented it to the regional meetings.
Right. Well, I mean, it's something to watch, so
Yeah.
it doesn't hurt to have.
We get another 6-inch rain or whatever over there in the Benford McHenry area, it'll be underwater because of the drainage and stuff. So, but okay.
So yeah, I mean, if you guys want some time to think about this, and we can discuss it at the next meeting too. Basically, I left that column on the far right open, because I don't know if you wanted to put your notes in there, which one you prefer, 1 through 9, what projects you think are the priority for the county, or you'd like to see us go forward with. So, We will need, or I guess we should know, a few projects before that July 27th meeting, so then we can send the application forms to DOT and get more projects approved.
If you, just some rough figuring here, if you use number 1B, 2, 4, and you give 4 a value of 500,000 just for 200,000 for the culverts, that's probably low anyway. 5, 6, and 7, that comes to 2.5 million of the 3.3, and if it's going to run over by, that would give you the ability to run over by 20% and still be within the 3.3.
And you get a pile of miles maintained.
Yeah. And it adds to a bunch of infrastructure that's just a thought. I mean,
That's a good thought.
but I mean, I'm all for that rate raise if we can coordinate with
Foster, yeah.
Foster. It just that was just embarrassing to build a bridge.
We can do just about 30 miles of other infrastructure versus the grade raise.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, for the benefit to the taxpayer, the more miles of, even if it's gravel, the more miles that we can make an impact on, the better it's going to be.
Yeah, that's why 5, 6, and 7, you get almost 50 miles of gravel in there, so pretty damn good.
And done correctly, the gravel that's just like putting money in the bank. And we're putting it thicker because of the road, because of the speeds, and it's just not, it costs money to maintain it, but that'll increase the longevity of those roads for years to come. But I still think we should apply for all of them, but then prioritize some.
Can't we put them all on there? Or do we have to prioritize them first?
We can. I know.
I don't remember.
Well, remember Brian was kind of asking you, and Jenny were presenting, you know, how are we going to do all these projects with the money? Kind of, you know, he would like to see which projects do you want to do for sure. But if you present more again, it's not like we're not going to get funds. You know what I mean?
Like number 8. Does that really look like feasible for us?
For what, so you can,
I don't think we're gonna do that.
unless I'm missing something somehow, what?
The only purpose would be
Just for the weight increase?
Yeah,
But you can't,
you know, if
But
it's
you can't,
80,000
yeah.
there and it's 105 there, 105 there. You know, but that's a lot of money just to appease the few truck drivers.
Yeah.
I mean, not everybody's gonna haul 105.5. You gotta have a trailer or
Yeah.
trailers and
yeah, I agree. And then it doesn't
The
fall
citizens would benefit more from having 50 miles gravelled and
Right.
maintained and
And the construction costs are gonna be leaving Griggs County.
Right.
That's just, we don't have an asphalt company.
So you're thinking we should take that one off the list?
I think we could for this, maybe if we get more money in the future, yeah.
Or maybe it'd look better if we just prioritize it lower, just submit them all with a priority on them.
Because right now it's in pretty good shape.
Yeah,
I
it
think
is.
it's been
Yeah, it
for
is.
years.
3 years, yeah.
And if we move it back a little ways, if there is more money in the future, whatever, well, at that time, then maybe it's gonna start deteriorating a little bit, so that'll be a good time to put the extra inch and a half on.
How tough a shape is that bridge in on 23?
Well, we looked at it,
I mean, that's a higher priority than that Becker.
Well, that's what I'm
by a
saying.
long shot.
Absolutely.
there's a lot more traffic.
I don't drive that road very much, but a lot of people
We-
do.
We all gravel across.
Yeah.
You know, there is, it says timber bridge, I think, but there is a couple of metal beams across also, but right now it looks like it's maybe washing into the wing wall, the abutments on the north side. You know, we fixed the south side. Pretty much every time we put riprap in there, it'll just shoot it out of there towards the river, because there's so much speed coming through there.
It should have
Just
some
rolls some rocks out of there, and you can't put too much in there because
that
then
bridge
you
restricts
cut
the
down-
flow, I suppose.
It should have some restriction up
Streams.
stream somewhere across there to slow it up.
Well, if you
But
drive up
I
that
wouldn't
way,
stay there long.
if you drive up and look up that way, there's a lot of drainage
Yeah.
ditches that all funnel down.
I know.
But it isn't very many acres.
I think it goes all the way to that blacktop going to Finley. No? Oh, that maybe cuts into
Yeah,
it.
no, it drains that Nelson farm, but that's it. I mean, when you get to the top of the hill there, that water goes to the Maple River. You know, right west of the Laverne Road, or east of it.
Yeah, right.
So, but they've tried to put stock dams. I mean, I ran all that pasture from there to the Highway 200, and there's blown out stock dams all over in there because
Yeah.
that water comes so fast that you can't hold it.
Well, I think that one time there was like 7 inches of rain up there one 24-hour period or whatever, so that come a lot. And then we got a lot of snow and it all comes through at once. So.
It's just so much drop. That's the problem.
But being it's got that, I mean, we got it restricted down to, it used to say like 9 or 7 tons or something like that. I had to change the sign, and so with that type of sign, they said like 17 tons was the lowest. And we had to put this new type of sign this way instead of this way. So it went up to 17,000.
Per axle?
Yeah. Or no, tons. Total. 34,000 pounds.
You must know your gravel truck's pretty light.
If you drive fast. No. Thing is, the bridge is pretty short, so your truck goes across, then the trailer comes, and that's what's probably saved it. But it's not like an 80.
It's not all there at the same time.
It's not like Decker's Bridge, it's 80 feet long.
Yeah.
So,
So if we just,
A big bump on the approach.
so if we just put 1A and 8 as a low priority and then number 3 as a intermediate priority and then the rest of them as a
High priority.
high priority and then submit it, see what they say.
I think you're supposed to rate them all 1 to 9 or 10 or whatever it is. Right?
Well,
Well,
they just,
this was just for our own information.
Oh,
We're just wanting to know which ones you guys want to move forward with. It's, yeah, DOT makes me know this. As far as the number 9, do you want to try to get federal bridge funds for that? Or do you want to use this? I mean, the thing is with the federal bridge funds, they'll be the 20% local match. If you try to use the Senate bill funds or this other House Bill 1176, that'd be 100%.
Probably should see how much it's gonna cost to
Yeah, and that's true too.
maybe get the hydraulic studies done on those culverts up by Odegaard's and on that bridge.
Mhm.
see what we're looking at?
okay.
The Odegaard thing, it almost seems to me like what's in there takes care of the water now. Why wouldn't you just put in there the equivalent?
there's 2 6-foot culverts in there now. And we had water run over the top. I think that happened when a big chunk of ice come down and blocked the top.
Yeah, well,
Blocked the culvert
you're
off.
not gonna fix that.
No.
I mean, if you replace those culverts with what's in there now and put flared-end sections on them, you'd move more water than you are now, and it's doing the job today. But I suppose it's all that.
Yeah. It's, well, there's a few years ago, the county replaced the culvert with the same size culvert that was there before. A bunch of rain that came, was up there in Wells or Ramsey County up there. The water backed up, flooded this farmer's field out. He was going to take him to court, but I think they overruled it or threw it out before it got there. But he was going to sue him because they didn't do a hydraulic study to find out what size.
Right.
Oh, but if we have the hydraulic study and that says we need it
There's no
2
field.
7-foots versus 2 6s, then
There's no fields behind that thing. You can't flood anybody out that creek.
but you can wash the roads out. Well, after that, the state came out and said that you should do a hydraulic study anytime you put a culvert in. And then there was a lot of us people that couldn't afford to do hydraulics by the very time. So we went to Bismarck and we testified to the legislature. Said that we couldn't afford to do that all the time. This was, FEMA was trying to promote this also, and so then they withdrew that. So if you wish to have TLJ do that hydraulic study, then maybe there has to be.
Well, if you're gonna use state or federal funds, you don't have any choice. I think it's just kind of a waste of money.
Is that right?
What?
We don't have any choice.
Not if you're gonna use that Senate bill and also money to do that.
If they audited the county, they would have to see that, yeah. Otherwise, they would probably just, I mean, the worst thing they would do is make you guys just pay for it,
No.
which, I mean, could add up to quite a bit if it's a box culvert or whatever. Which I'm assuming two 6-foot pipe would probably turn into one box culvert.
Always
Doesn't 50 years of being in existence qualify as a hydraulic study?
We're talking about bureaucrats. They like building more of them.
Yeah.
So does it have to be a box culvert? Could it be two?
It wouldn't have
Metal
to be.
pipe.
It could be metal pipe. The nice thing about box culverts is they last. I mean, of course, if we put steel in, they would last through all of our lifetimes. Most likely.
Right, if they're dry.
The thing is there, it shouldn't stand water.
No.
It should drain out, but it does sometimes. But
And they would look at both alternatives. And there is a certain size where they say, no, we can't do steel anymore, just because of the manufacturers. But I'm not sure if we would reach that size or not with that site. But if you want to move forward with that, let me know and I can talk to who I need to and bring a contract next time to get surveyors out there to do their topo of the site, and the bridge engineers will then size the pipe, and then we can talk about what we want to do with it after that. So.
I'd make a motion that we move forward getting 1B, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7 authorized as high priority, number 9 as intermediate priority, and 8 and 1A as low priority, along with 3 as medium priority, depending on Foster County's participation. So I think that one would probably move up a little bit if Foster County was on board.
Right.
And then we can sort it out after to see what's approved.
You certainly think the cost would be cheaper if they're there to do the whole thing too, and
Yeah. And then maybe another gravel project presents itself and we have the money, we can just transfer the funds from one project to another.
Okay, there's a motion by John. Is there a second to that motion?
so moved.
Seconded by Sean. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote.
Yep.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
With that, the two projects that have been approved already, 1B and 2, at the last meeting, do we want to move forward with that and try to get those bid this year, or do you want to wait till next spring, or what's your guys' wishes on that? 'Cause those we would use the Senate Bill 2103 funds.
You're looking for this one.
John, run down that list again for me.
1A would be low, 1B would be high, 2 would be high, 3 would be medium, dependent on Foster County's participation, 4 would be high, 5 would be high, 6 would be high, 7 would be high, 8 would be low, and 9 would be medium priority.
Okay.
And then with 9, you're thinking we'll decide at a later date if we want to use, what funding we want to use, 'cause that's kind of feeling right now.
I think we kinda gotta know what the cost is too, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
With
Which,
that-
if it has to be a bridge, it's going to be a lot more.
With that line, Jake, would it work like when we go to meet with DOT?
How would it work?
I mean, when they send out every year, what are your priorities, what are your projects? Is that when we would submit that new bridge, or can we do it?
I can talk to Brian at any time.
Yeah.
And let him know.
Because we're gonna hold off on it, get this one up at a higher
Yep.
priority.
And then we can possibly bid it in 2016, you know, as soon as possible. So, but yeah, I guess first thing, if we do the hydraulic study, we can figure out what it's gonna need, if it's a bridge or a box, to get a close estimate, and then you can decide what type of funding you wanna use to build it.
Okay.
So is that, you guys want me to get something together for the next meeting for that?
Yeah.
Like I said, it's gonna cost between 6,000 and 8,000 for the guys to run up here and bring the information back.
Right, but you're gonna give us that agreement before, I mean, you'll give us
Exactly.
something to act on.
Like a contract
Right.
before we do it, yes, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, start the ball rolling.
So in the same thing, should we start some of these gravel projects so we don't have it all fall in one year?
Yeah, like 1B and 2, I mean, it's only 7.6 miles. Why not?
Can you, yeah, does that fit your schedule, Wayne?
If we could add another one to it, that would be.
Do we have another
What's the,
one
we don't have another one approved.
funded yet?
No, we don't.
Unless we could transfer, one of those lower priority ones to a gravel project. I think we can do that though.
See what we can do. If you guys are thinking we only wanna do, or if we just wanna do those 2 projects under Senate bill, that comes out to about 300,000.
We still got
So we still have 1.5 million, and all I need to do to approve projects right now is we need to fill out an application, send it to DOT, and they say yay or nay. A lot easier than having to go and present these projects. So we could go that route. You know, in the next couple of weeks, we would know. I mean, within a month, we would know if they're approved or not.
So we couldn't do all the grouting projects, but we could do 1B, 2, 5, and 6 real easily. Or a combination of 5, 6, and 7.
I mean, when we put these projects together, you know, we're thinking these projects should be approved by DOT, but of course, there's always the chance that they say, no, it's not. We can't fund that, so. Okay. Because we could do that. That's a lot easier to get it through.
So we just try and get all the graveling projects approved for this year and see where we stand.
I think so.
All right, yeah.
All these long stretches of gravel, like, it takes a lot more people.
Because I was telling that you guys decided you didn't want to do those other projects right now, so we want to try to use Senate bill money to do these other graveling projects.
Well, overall, we just assigned them a lower priority. Yeah. So, not that we don't want to do them, there's a lower priority.
Right, that Highway 15 one is approved already.
Yeah.
Well, we can transfer that.
But that's a gravel project.
Oh, the graveling project.
But that's, you got that, those pipes by Dan.
Yeah.
That's what.
Yeah. Okay. Good to me.
Okay.
No, I mean, the one other, I guess, as long as we're talking about this now, you guys, with this funding, you're not required to do a request for proposals for engineering, but you can if you want. So think about if you want to do that, put the engineering, or advertise engineering in the paper.
I thought we
You
had,
guys did that
I thought we had an
before.
agreement with you guys for 2015. That was
for those
just-
seal quotes.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just for those projects. So that's entirely up to the commission on what you want to do with that.
What do you think we should do in there, Ron?
This one, on options 5, 6, and 7.
No, as far as the engineering, do you want to bid that, or do you want to go with the? We have the ability to do it either way. The way we did it last time was we put it out for bids and then or proposals. It's not for bids, proposals, and we selected the engineering firm. And that's that way with every project, if you want to.
What are the other options?
We can, the way I understand, the way Century Goals reads, you can just go with your engineer of choice, as long as you can justify the cost, correct?
I would think gathering proposals would be the best thing, like we did last year. We had 2 or 3 proposals. Probably.
Well, it's basically just a competency test they submit, just to prove their competence to do work.
That's correct.
Yeah, it's not.
Well,
I gotta admit, we didn't, they weren't of much value, those proposals, they still went the same way. But it doesn't.
no, but
it just-
at least it doesn't exclude anybody.
Yeah, it just seems like it's more for the record that we went through the process of getting 3 proposals, and we can't be accused of favoritism, just like.
Yeah, well, I mean, and there is, just because the outcome was as it was last time, doesn't mean it'll be that way this time. I mean, there's,
So I guess I favor getting proposals.
we need a motion on it.
I move that we get proposals for the engineering costs on which project was it?
Well,
On all of them, okay. I move that we get proposals on the engineering costs for all the projects.
I mean, you're not gonna ask for proposals on each individual project, are you?
No,
I mean, I don't like not having some consistency.
no, I think just the engineer of record for these projects, for as we're looking at these projects here, I think that one, I think we should be able to at least go through the process and decide who would be better equipped to do this.
So for all of the projects should have been added to the end of my sentence.
Okay, it's been moved by Ron that we ask for a request for proposals for engineering on these projects. Now, we just told him to start the process of, is there a second to the motion?
I'll second the motion.
Seconded by John. We just asked him to start the process of doing hydraulic studies on 2 of the projects, so
Well, he was gonna get us a bid on the cost of the projects, and hopefully if this gets advertised, we can do this within, 2 weeks. And by the time we have the next meeting, he should be back with we could possibly do the whole thing next meeting. Pick the engineer and.
Does each project have to be listed in the ad?
I don't know that. I don't know that.
Yes, I believe it does. You can do a blanket proposal for all the projects at once, but I think.
But we don't even know what projects we're gonna do yet, so that's gonna be hard. I mean, we can start out with,
Could have a possible list. I mean, just, we're not looking for an actual bid on it, we're just looking for the.
competency review.
I think just a blanket list is fine. That's all you're looking for is for competency.
Okay.
Could it be, instead of getting 1,000 words in there, could it be something to do with, maybe Jamie should be the one that does request for proposals,
I think all you need to do is say for summer of 2015 projects.
because it's gonna be 16 and 17 too.
Well, I think you should, how about if the terminology references Senate Bill
That's what I was wondering.
2103 and House Bill 1176, and if they do their homework, they'll go through and they'll see what the limitations and the requirements for that are and present that in their proposal. I think it should be that simple.
So we have to have this available
Yes.
for someone.
Yeah, or the map, yeah. But that would be available at the auditor's office. So if we put the ad in the paper, looking for proposals for engineering
I think we,
pertaining to Senate Bill 2103 and 1176, which would be fine.
shouldn't the estimated construction cost be deleted off there?
Well,
If an engineering firm is gonna come and say, okay,
we're gonna get 20% on this, right? Yeah, yeah. I don't know, yeah, the cost of, I don't know that, I'd be up for Jamie to decide that. But maybe that doesn't make any difference at all. Maybe we just want an engineer that is capable of providing services to comply with House Bill and the Senate Bill, and leave it at that.
I don't know.
That's pretty spelled out. I mean, if they look up the House and Senate Bill and they look at all the provisions associated with it, and they put forward a synopsis of what their company's done, that's all we're looking for anyway. Is expertise in complying with the different facets of what the funding would be available for this thing. So it's a broad spectrum anyway. I don't know whether it would make any difference if it's project specific or cost specific.
I think in the past, I think, well, I didn't even put it in the paper, I think Jimmy did, but as far as, because it had kind of project numbers or project designations of County Road 3 from Highway 200 to whatever, so many miles. And I suppose something like that could be. But I don't think there is a requirement for 3 engineers because
No, there isn't.
and 3 engineering firms like are on the same.
No, there isn't. Last time we only had 2. And there is no, it's all subjective. It's just what the proposal they turn in, there is no grading system to it unless you devise on yourself.
And it has to be advertised for 2 weeks.
I don't know that.
2 or 3 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks, yeah. So we can get it into the paper for next week and the following week, and it would.
Next meeting is,
Wouldn't be able to do it in 2 weeks so from today because that paper doesn't come out until Friday.
Yeah, it won't be done before our next meeting.
Is there any further discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay. Is that clear as mud, Sam?
Got it.
You need to put something in the paper. We have to work with Wayne. I agree with him. We should take the costs off there, just put the projects on there.
Okay, so, but you still want me to try to get those hydraulics rolling? At this point, you'd like me to do that so we can get estimated costs for those?
Well, we just need an estimate on the hydraulic. we can't authorize it to start, we need to see what it would cost, yeah.
And that's what I'm saying, we're just gonna do the study so then we can get estimated.
We could even do that if we wanted to.
Right.
So,
Might look better on your proposal.
Anything else you can think of?
just wanna make sure I got everything that I need. So as far as submitting more projects, we can talk about that. And the hydraulic study, that's all I got on my list to do. Is there anything I'm forgetting? I think that's,
That's what I know.
okay. No, that's everything that I had to talk about.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Thank you guys.
I have one more thing. Seeing as I am supposed to, this isn't in the files. Just the other day I was thinking as I drive to work, I see a lot of leaky spurge along the road and whatever. And thinking if it is our duty or to do this, that we should probably try to get a piece of equipment that we could do it with. So I called the Warren Chemical Company out of Rapids, South Dakota. In fact, I had one of their magazines, brochures that they sent around, and there's different pumps and tank systems. There's some lighter duty ones. There's one with a 200-gallon tank and an 8-blower pump for $24.90, 50-foot hose. Then their top, the line one is the range and pasture sprayer. It's a heavier duty, 200-gallon tank, spray bar, bootless nozzles, which the other one had too. It's got a GX 200 Honda pump in it. It's a centrifugal pump. And I requested the electric hose reel. That's very large droplets. It says you don't have much problems with drifting. For $250 more, you could put electric starts on it, but it's a 5.5 engine, I think. So it isn't too hard to crank. And I also contacted Orbit Manufacturing. And he came up with this pump tank system. It's a Honda engine also. It doesn't say what size it is. 100-foot hose, manual reel, 3 nozzle bootless kit. It's got a spray gun. It's got a roller pump. And it's quite a bit cheaper, but I don't think it's built as rugged, and they both have electric controls from the cab.
Which one do you think is the best one, right?
I'm thinking that the one from Warren Chemical is probably the best.
Centrifugal pump is a lot easier to deal with. You don't, the roller pumps, if you let it, you don't get them cleaned out each time, then they stick and then you have problems with them. We're fine if they get cleaned out all the time, but 2,4-D and ban or and Fordon in there, they don't get cleaned out all the time. So I wouldn't take on a 5.5 horsepower on the engine. You'd need an electric start going. What do you think? Maybe.
It's like starting your lawnmower. It's like starting your lawnmower.
Yeah.
To me, all that does is add a battery that's gonna be
That's
there.
never worked charged out.
And you gotta have it hooked up to the battery on the pickup anyway for your electric cab controls and stuff, so.
That would
Could
be
just
the
run away.
only advantage, they could start it without getting out of the vehicle. I imagine would be the upside to
Oh. You're going from one area to another.
one spot to another, you can shut it off and then they will to start it.
I see. Never thought of that, yeah.
What's that for?
Start the engine.
No, the electric, it won't start from inside the cab. Electric start on those Honda engines with a key on the side of them. The electric control is for the
Right.
spray on and off,
Yeah,
not for the engine.
I don't
I
know.
don't know if it is or not.
Well, I mean, I've never seen one of them. You'd have to run big cables back into the cab and, or a solenoid.
Like a battery.
So then you'd have to get
Yeah.
a kill switch up there. And
No, the electric starts on the Honda engines is all,
Oh,
that
it's all
channel,
key.
there's a key on the side of it, just start it up. But the boom controls, the inside the cab, that's just the solenoid to turn the booms on.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I have one of these from Warren Chemical.
And the centrifugal pump, you can let the engine run anyway, it doesn't build pressure when it moves off.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's better to turn it off if you're gonna have it on for a half an hour.
This is something like 100 gallons per minute, 110 PSI you could have if you want.
Yeah, I mean, you probably
You
want,
could fight fire with it.
yeah, you probably want 20 PSI. You can still have one.
You should be able to regularly test.
Oh, yeah, no, it's just by the bypass on it, that's no problem.
If you want to squirt it out from here to the street, you'd be.
Well, you have money in your budget for this, right?
I've got money.
I thought we put money in the,
There's more money in the
Yeah.
budget, I think.
We budget me or the?
I think there's money in the budget.
you looking for a motion?
I make a motion, we authorize Wayne to purchase the Warren chemical. Leafy storage spraying system, or range and pasture spraying system. Do we need to have that electric start on there or not?
I don't know how it's configured.
I don't know if you can put it on afterwards or what. If it's.
The ones that we have, that have electric start, you have to have a standalone battery with them, mounted on it, and then it has a little alternator on the engine, and it charges the battery as it runs, and inevitably, they never work. Unless you use the things every day, they never work.
That's been my experience, you end up pulling them anyway.
And ours are 13 horsepower ones, and those fire trucks, and you can still start them by pulling them, so I would think 5.5 horsepower you should be able to.
I would think so.
That's what they have on all those gas air compressor restarters 20 times a day.
So less the electric start and whatever they are.
But that hasn't included in there yet, so.
Okay.
So it'll be the 4538 plus 250 rate.
Yep.
For second to the motion.
I'll second the motion.
Seconded by Sean. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Dale?
Aye.
Ron?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Troy votes aye. Motion carries.
Your question, who's supposed to do all the state highway leafy spurs? The state?
Stay.
Yeah, some ball.
Well,
They-
once we get this thing, we can spray them and.
Charge them, yeah.
Right? Can't we do that?
You can.
You can. Wayne's been itching to do that.
Well, we
I
get
got my pickup on the way home.
Driving the ditch pretty home. Driving the right ditch in the way.
we get complaints every summer about the Highway 200 ditches.
Yeah.
It's like,
Some of them are
Well,
pretty.
anybody certified yet, or anything for the test, so. To pursue that.
Kenny must be certified, isn't he?
I don't know if he is still certified, I know he could be, can be, test.
Yeah.
Okay.
If that's it, I'll forget. Once I'm going. They're closing Highway 26 from Hannaford west today, I guess. They're gonna work on the railroad track. And next week, they're closing number 1 from the flashing light to Binford because they're gonna put a culvert in by Ethan's there.
In the road they just built?
Where that bump is.
Really?
North of the curve.
Oh.
There's that dip there.
The color must have rusted out.
It's been the dip there for years, so.
Oh, there's a culvert rusted out on the road there too.
Is there?
The south side. Right by the red gate that goes, at least it's all sunk in and all.
I've had several requests for culverts from, I think Dale brought one from the water board in Carrickville, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably out for church.
Church, and of course, the last time. Let's see. Is there another one? Brandon Albert, he wanted one too.
This one's holding water. It's a quarter or an eighth of a mile west on Red Road on the south side.
Under the pavement?
No, it's right off the pavement, so it's holding water up against the pavement. The water's supposed to go west there, and it comes down, and the culvert collapsed, and it holds water.
It's on the approach?
Yeah, the approach.
Well, that's not our issue, is it?
I suppose it's in our right of way.
Oh,
It's a county road.
But anyway, it won't let it go. It won't let it go to that big, that big lake right along on the other side of it. You know, it's supposed to go down to the west and then underneath there, Red Willow Road, and then go out to the northeast. But it's holding the ditch there, and so when it was a big rain, it just goes,
Yeah, Miller Elevator, that was Miller Elevator from Wallen, they call it. Said there was water holding back in the ditch between the railroad tracks and number 1, they were wondering whose responsibility it was and whatever, and so went up there and looked at it, and there was water in the culvert. It's open all the way through. To the south, it's lower than what the culvert is, and the road is higher, or the ditch is higher going to the north, so I don't know. They had contacted the state didn't know if it was their problem. But anyway, our culvert is open, it's fine, so I said, we're not gonna do it.
Well, this one's definitely collapsed, because you can.
That's when you jump the tractor.
I drive my pickup in there once in a while, as long as I know one. It's just a little gate. It doesn't bother me any, but it's holding the water back in the ditch.
How about up by a mile west of my
Oh yeah, your place, that was another one, yep. Did you ever talk to the township?
You know, there's actually 2 culverts in that township road already.
Yeah, I know that, but
And he was, I don't know if he got a hold of them or not, but I think
we'd have to look
they're
at
fine
what
with
size
that.
they are. Because every year, practically every year, we have a problem there, north of Terry Tennyson's old place there, where the water runs over the road. And it did it again this year.
Yeah, I backed up probably 60 acres of water on that. I could
There's a lot of people to the west that are draining, down there, so. It's hazardous, it happens at night, somebody comes along there, goes in ditch, drowns or something, so. The only other crossing is straight north of Tennyson's place, and that fits into the Bald Creek. So I'm thinking that probably if we put another culvert in, maybe you have to have a hydraulic study. I'll find out. We'll look at those culvert sizes in the township road down there.
You're using our money, you don't need to have a hydraulic study, do you?
Not a protection. It isn't gonna affect anybody. I'll look and see, make sure those culverts downstream are, because he was gonna talk to the township and see if they could maybe put a bigger culvert in. But
Yeah,
if
like
the culverts and
it's
what
a-
I'm gonna put in, then shouldn't be a problem. Plus the extra shade in there. All right, thanks.
Thank you.
You bet. Have a good weekend.
Can you go back to the bills for this resolution, please?
Copy for you. I didn't have time you guys look at that and see what you want. The minutes were pretty vague from that last meeting. The last one where the blanks are at, that's from what account. I couldn't hear in the minutes what accounts you guys wanted to transfer the money from and to.
She's gonna fund the loan?
It probably was fun for them.
That's Dennis.
And should it be Citizen State Bank and not Community Bank?
Yeah, Citizen State Bank.
Yeah, the third line down, it says, establish a sinking fund to properly fund.
Should be fund.
Yeah, it needs a D on the end of the fund.
Or if you really wanted me to start chopping it apart
What's that?
to adequately provide a repayment stream, but it doesn't
Oh.
matter. I mean, it says the same thing.
Yeah.
I think the way the century code reads, it's the current year and the previous 4 years.
Right, but that's what the certificate actually had those years on the certificate.
Oh,
On the back side of those certificates, that's where it showed.
but they didn't quantify it?
No. And actually, it's still 7-year payment, so it doesn't work anyway with what.
Well, it would if it was a large enough balance. Because you could,
Yeah, if you could
you
divide
would,
those years up.
you would fund the sinking fund in those 3 years, and if that was large enough to fund the
Then you
loan.
can spread that payment more over. Yeah.
Because they needed $85,000 to make that work.
But
There wasn't $85,000 lost or levied in uncollected taxes.
Yeah, and it wasn't quantified in there, so I have no idea on that.
If Kelly gave me the right information, there was only 66,000 anyway, and they borrowed, or 64,000, and they borrowed 166,000 in 2011, so. So,
Yeah, looks fine.
here's what I did. I changed community to state in 4 places.
Yep.
And then on the third whereas, I put a D on fund, to fund. And I think other than that, I didn't see anything. So,
Probably should have, like, on that sentence, whereas the required payment of 12,000 and the field certificate of indebtedness unforeseen because of, maybe it should say were unforeseen. Just add the verb were, it makes a better sentence.
okay. What funds were we gonna do that from? Do you remember? I think from the emergency fund, right?
Yeah, from the emergency fund.
Better add that in there.
Emergency fund to, I didn't know what account it was.
Must have came out of the general.
It didn't come out of a fund, it just came out of our bank.
Oh, it came out of the checking account.
But I mean, that's the whole purpose of the
Right.
resolution is to take it out of the emergency fund.
And fund it.
And to refund that money.
Right.
And then go into the general, right. I mean, in order to take money out of the emergency fund, you have to have a resolution of emergency.
Right. Okay. I don't know what the account number, I just put DDA.
Okay, I can show you.
Looks good.
Okay. Motion to that effect?
I move to accept it with the changes noted by Troy.
Been moved by Ron to accept the resolution as amended. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Seconded by Dale. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John? Dale? Ron?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Troy votes aye. Motion carried. You want to fix that and then I'll sign it later?
Okay.
Jamie, are you gonna fix it or do you let me choose?
Actually, can you fix it? I didn't bring the office keys to the back of my office this afternoon. Thank you.
Kelly? Is there something in here?
No, I just got the email from John Steen yesterday. What he emailed me was this, it's a courthouse breakdown total of requests for payment. It's for the non-EOC stuff. This portion that our grant covers, this area here, I've got the breakdown of the costs for those areas, but they were never billed separately. And so I don't really know how to go about breaking this all down. The total cost of the finishes for these areas, had they been completed, was $122,144.90. But of course, you know, for example, the doors, the frames and the doors are all built together. I don't know how to separate them because the frames are in, the doors are not. I don't know how to go about. So I guess I don't know.
Do you have a number for what was completed to this date, like the drywall was completed? And
yeah.
And the frames were, I guess you don't have a number.
Well, I mean, I haven't had, you know, just this is what I guess he gave. This shows the 93% completion on these items, but you'd have to go through these and find these items. You know, they've got rough carpentry, they've got a whole total. Where that's at, I have no idea. Because it's not billed.
Well, you know the total cost, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's what they did give me this. I had, after we found out about the grant, because we didn't find out about the grant until, I mean, construction was well. I mean, the building was, you know, we found out in February 2014. But I had asked them to get the breakdowns of the cost for the areas that the grant would cover. So I do have those. But like I said, it's where to find them in here, what has been paid.
In order to submit for reimbursement, we gotta find those numbers, right?
Well, yeah,
What
but, you know, you're gonna have to also get new estimates for, you know, the flooring. Those ones will be easy,
Yeah.
because it would just be specifically for those areas, but, you know, they've got costs for, they have a total cost for like ceramic tile, carpet, VTC base. Well, they've got a total cost for that. Well, we have paid for the carpet or the flooring, but, you know, I'm assuming their labor is included in that cost. How, I just don't.
And they figured the square footage for this area shown here?
Yep, and that's, I've got the breakdown for, they've got the square footage for each room broke down, and the cost for each one of those rooms, so. You know, like I said, the architectural woodwork, for example, in the courtroom, they've got a total cost for that.
How much?
The total cost for the architectural woodwork in the courtroom is $18,000.
And that's been paid.
They've got on here, they've got, I did see, I mean, I see a rough carpentry, they've got two totals, 97%. I don't know if that's for those areas because it wasn't billed separately.
Did I see that?
Yeah.
Is this payroll plus separate for that?
8?
8,
Yeah. I know, it's the first time I've ever viewed any of those things, so.
What does the grant require?
As far as,
Documentation?
it would just an invoice that we paid for and, you know, a line item and details of what it was.
How are you gonna do it?
Well, if let's say they had completed the building 100%, I would have done this breakdown with the areas that they could and just include that. That shows, yes, we paid 100% for those areas. It wouldn't have been difficult at all. But since now it wasn't 100% completed.
Well, like for the examples you gave, architectural woodwork, we paid 100% of the $31,882 to Woodside. So we did.
But we
pay-
couldn't, no, but there's another one that says 97%.
Well,
Because, well, we can look in the
installation-
courtroom and tell that it's not finished. So
no,
we did,
I'm just talking
you
about
know.
materials. Though. We paid,
Yeah,
we
well, see,
paid-
yeah, that's the problem, is we paid for the materials for the carpet, but we don't have the installation.
Right, yeah.
And so
I'm
my
just saying-
breakdowns
I'm just saying
include,
we could probably figure it out.
well,
But,
I mean,
Well, we gotta finish it before we can submit anyway.
mhm.
So, if we finish it, we'll know what it costs to finish it.
Wow. But see, like, here's my example. Okay, in the courtroom, for the building HM frames and OHMH wood doors, there's a total of $9,349. The frames are in, but the doors aren't up.
But they
So-
can be. We
But,
have to finish it before
Yeah,
we submit
but-
anyway, Kelly.
and you're not, I haven't got to my point yet. But my point is, we haven't paid that whole $9,349.
That's right.
But we've paid for the materials, but not the labor. So that's my point, is how do you break out the materials from the labor? Because we haven't paid them all for labor.
That includes the labor.
Yeah.
In the $272,000 remaining to finish the project, the construction engineers supplied us with, it is a breakdown of what's left to be done. So you can use that breakdown and subtract from what has to be done to arrive at the dollar figure you're looking for.
So there is a breakdown what hasn't been done?
Correct.
Okay.
Construction engineers gave us an estimate of $272,000 to finish the courthouse portion of this. And within that figure, it's broken down individually of what needs to be finished and a dollar amount.
Okay.
So you've got the dollar amount that's been paid, we know it's been paid, and you know what it takes to finish it, so we can arrive at those percentages.
How do you do that if it's not broke down for the specific areas? Or is that?
Well, I
hasn't been
mean,
finished?
I guess that goes to the point, how are you gonna do that? If we've got the figure of what it's gonna cost to finish this, just as if it was finished, you do it the same way. I mean, we're gonna have to break it down eventually anyway.
Mhm. Well, like on here, it says remaining contract to bill, 122,792. So I'm assuming is that?
Yeah, that's right.
That's
And then if you
total.
go back, there's more pages to that, and it lists, it itemizes the work that's left to be done.
Mhm. Yeah, it has their percentages here, but from, you know.
But
I
it
just
lists,
don't know.
it lists individual line items that equal that not the 122, but the 272 or whatever it is.
122, I think, is what they said to finish the courthouse.
Okay, whatever the number is,
Yeah,
it's broke,
that's what it
okay,
says here.
okay, so if you get the itemized list of what that 122 is comprised of, then you'll be able to subtract that from what has been done, or add to what's been done.
And they have provided that list?
Yes.
They have?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that.
This was just the cover page of a pretty intensive breakdown of what's been done.
So there's more to this then?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know that it existed. It says 3 of 3.
Well, there's 122,000 right there, and that's balance to finish,
Yeah.
122,000. So
But he's talking
That's it there. So that's the itemized list.
Yeah, so this is the itemized list.
Yeah, but you're talking about there's something else that exists of what they have.
No, you
Or
brought
you're
it
just talking
in.
about
The total,
Yeah.
It goes on page 4 of it.
Yeah, it does have the percentages of.
okay, so here's what's been done, previously completed, and then completed to date and to finish. So that gives you this last balance to finish, that gives you the amount that's left to finish. You can subtract that from the total amount that was originally contracted to figure out what percentage has been done. So like here it says, and I think they even broke this into, okay, this column here, you'll have to go through and look at the balance to finish. You'll have to look at what the item is, and then you'll have to determine whether or not that item relates to the courtroom. So for instance, it's 44,000 here, curb and gutter. How much of that can be square footage wise to the courtroom, and is it eligible? Probably none of it. Right,
No,
okay.
just
So then you'll have to go through on each one of these descriptions, and first of all, put an X next to ones that pertain to the courtroom, and then go over and see what the balance to finish is.
And then
So then now-
determine, how would I determine what percentage of that balance of finish is the areas that it covers?
Then, you'll have to determine, you were gonna have to determine that anyway. I don't know how you were gonna do that. When you
Well-
applied for the grant, how are you gonna determine that anyway?
Well, because I have breakdowns of what it would cost, so a statement saying that we've paid it and it's been 100% completed, along with this, would have been proof to
Okay.
them that it's completed and it's been paid.
Okay,
So-
with this and what has been paid, you have the 100% completion number. What's left to do and what's been done gives you the 100% completion number. Then you can figure out what has been completed or what should be reimbursable to date.
Okay.
You don't get any reimbursement until stuff.
Well,
Yeah, 100%.
yeah, but can it be applied for in tranches? Can we send it in reimbursement?
Not this grant. This grant is just 100% completed. You complete it, you send it in for your, they send you your 75%.
But does it mean the project 100% completed, or we just get one time to send in for reimbursement?
My understanding is the project has to be 100%
I need
completed.
to see that. Because I'm not in favor of completing this project. I'm in favor of
Well,
I'm in favor of getting the money back for what's been spent already, and then determine what happens, the outcome of the lawsuit, or whatever it's going to be, to determine who's responsible for finishing this thing.
well, let me clarify. The 100% of the project that the grant covers. So if that area is completed 100%, then you can. Doesn't matter the other areas.
Yeah, but we never agreed to utilize 100% of the funds that were eligible anyway. We only agreed to about $70,000 of it. So that can't hold true, because we were never going to do 100% of the project. So it has to be 100% of the work that we.
I'm talking about if the project, our project, regardless if it's how much it costs, whether what we were going to use the money for was completed or not. I mean, I'm not talking about whether we use 100% of the grant monies or not.
Okay, if there's $60,000 right now that is eligible under this project, and that's all we ever sent in, that's all we ever applied for.
Get 45,000.
Right.
Well, what we had asked for, I mean, 64,000 of it was, I mean, this was also what was approved. This, along with the finishes, was what was approved by the grant. And this is 64,000 right here. We have paid for this TJ Electronics. Did you find that voucher, Sam?
Yep, I got the information from
So we
Brian.
did pay for that. We do have our, the small things like our printer, our DVD player, and our.
Okay, so we do have a partial list of the things that were paid for and things that were eligible for reimbursement.
Yep.
Yeah.
But and then this 30,000 is the furniture and desks and things, and then
But that hasn't been paid for.
yeah, and for the finishes that the grant would cover, obviously the woodwork, the acoustical ceiling tiles, the flooring, the painting, and the specialties is under building finishes. I don't exactly know what that is, but those are the things that the grant would cover.
No, are those the things that were scheduled to be completed though?
What do you-
Well, when, maybe my recollection is wrong on this, but there was a $190-some thousand that was eligible under this, is that correct?
I think so.
Well, we only applied for 150,000.
Okay, whatever we applied for, but then
No.
we eventually only determined that we were going to use monies that would make the basic structure and no add-ons. And in that thing, we agreed to pay for the sound system, correct?
Yep.
And then we were going to be reimbursed from the building authority out of FF&E. And the reason we agreed to pay for the sound system was because we were told that it had to come, a county check had to be issued in order for that to be reimbursable. So has the sound system, has the county been reimbursed for that $20-some thousand by by the building authority and FF&E?
I have no idea.
Has it been bought?
Yeah, we paid for it. We wrote the check with, don't you remember the negotiation was, we write the check.
Audio video, wasn't it?
Audio video, but the building authority will reimburse us from FF&E. We took them at their word. I assume that they sent us a check, but I don't know that.
I have no idea. I know it was paid for that.
Yeah, well, the county paid for it, but that wasn't the original, that wasn't the
Did we
deal with
hold
that.
the check before we got?
I don't know that, it's been
I
so
don't
long ago.
remember that whole deal. All I remember that there was 196,000 or something that was eligible, and 15,000 of it was the acoustic ceiling tile and some columnar woodwork and whatever, and we didn't do that. So it reduced the size of the grant because the goal was for the grant to have the effect of decreasing the overall project cost, not to add on more cost.
Correct, it was to,
That's what I remember in that
That's-
discussion.
that's
Yep.
correct. It was to offset essential costs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the total cost of the finishes that the grant will cover is $122,144.89. So I'm not sure. I do remember that $70-some thousand, but I don't know why we cut that down. Because the finishes alone that have been, with the exception of putting it in, the percentage is pretty high that we've already paid for.
Right.
So
And I think I'm wrong
I
too.
don't
think
know why we cut that down. Because you could get reimbursement for these finishes.
Yeah, I think at this
I think I'm
point-
wrong. I think we were planning to spend 196,000 to get
The
147.
total was 199,081.26 to get the 149 to get the full amount of the grant.
But we decided not to do that, and we spent.
But we haven't added any
No.
cost onto that though. These we haven't. The alternates would have the cost would have been more. These are
Right.
just straight across the board
Right.
finishes that we'd be paying for regardless.
But I think what we need to determine now is what's been spent to date that is reimbursable. Because we don't know the outcome of it. We don't know what's going to happen here.
Right. But
And we've got a little time, it's the end of the year.
and Kelly can verify the grant requirements with you, but the bottom line is if we don't finish that, we might not get the grant. So I don't know what's left to finish. It shouldn't be that hard to quantify that either.
Well, we got to pick what we wanted to use the grant money for, so as long as what we used the grant money for has been completed, the grant money should be available. It wasn't finishing the whole project because we already cut that down from the 196 or whatever it was. So,
But I mean, you walk in there, there's things in there that aren't done that were in that grant.
but then if they aren't done, then we don't apply for, we don't get reimbursed for them.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's possible that this whole thing ends up where the county ends up having to pay for finishing the whole courthouse, and then we'll maximize this grant. If not, then it's not our responsibility, and then someone else will be responsible for this, and then we'll become partners with them as they finish it.
But you might run out of time, that's all I'm saying.
You know, looking at the thing, I think if you guys wanted to end it here today, I mean, no more with the grant, you would pick what labor's been done and what material's been bought, and you would just submit for that. I mean, that's what John's trying to say.
That's what John's saying.
Yeah. So, and then if you did that, you're gonna get paid for that, and you know, it's in the grant. If you guys, if the commissioner, whoever, decided you only want to use 20,000 of the grant, and they've already made that clear at the court level, then that's what you're going to reimburse for.
But we've got some time, why don't we just see how this plays out? Why don't we just extend this? Quantify those numbers of what Bob said, what was spent, and then we'll just keep adding to that. And at some time, is it the end of the year?
Mm-hmm.
So sometime before the end of the year,
Submit it.
we need to make a decision. And if 2 months from now, the decision comes back from whatever legal action we take, then we can go from there.
Okay.
I think is the only right way to do it.
So it would be best to reclaim every dollar you can for work that was just to get it finished, not for
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, something that's been spent and was eligible, we need to reclaim that.
Correct.
But is there an open dialogue with the building authority on this? I mean,
On which,
well, on what we're talking about right now was started out the responsibility of the building authority, and they were making the decisions basically on the payment and what was going to be done, and now all of a sudden it appears like there's no one to even ask the question of what is if it was the building authority's responsibility 8 months ago, why is it not the building authority's responsibility now? And it certainly was their responsibility 8 months ago because they were paying the bills, they were in charge of the project. Now all of a sudden, how do we get to the point that now we're supposed to make decisions for them for a building that we don't even know whether we make lease payments on or we have any ownership or anything else? So the question is, how did that relationship just come to an end? Is anybody, and someone must know if there's even a building authority in existence. Is there members on that building authority?
there still exists as far as I know. I have no communication with them for any reason. Only time I've talked to them is when I've served their papers. Really. There's no, I don't have a reason to talk to
Right,
them.
but I mean, we don't, serving papers, you're serving papers in a person, and that doesn't necessarily mean that they're any more members of the building authority.
Well, as far as I know,
Right, I know
still
that.
on the thing. The building authority is a box. It's an entity. It's a box. No matter who sits in there, the building authority is going to be there until that time frame is exhausted. Who's in there, I don't. And if anybody's making decisions, they're not telling me about anything.
Right, but I mean, there has to be someone there, whether it be the appointed members or the court appoints members. Someone has to represent that box. The box can't be empty. So at some point, whether it be us or a court, someone is going to demand of the building authority that someone stand up and represent them. And and at that time, someone's going to have to say, no, I'm not a member, or yes, I am a member. And if I'm not a member, here's when I resign. Why are we pulling teeth to get to that point? If we know there's no one to deal with, why doesn't someone tell us?
Agreed.
Dennis?
I can find, but I got nothing to do with them. It's a long time ago.
Only it went away that easy, huh? So anyway, we need to quantify what's been spent, and we need to be able to be reimbursed that. And I'm sure that's a doable thing.
Okay, we'll have to keep an eye on that thing and make sure we act before the end of the year.
It's been a long time before that.
Are you gonna be able to qualify those? You're gonna do that, right?
I will do my best.
Okay.
I mean,
Ron will help you. I just heard him say, I'll help
you know,
you.
if you have some time. And it may be a
That sounded like a volunteer, didn't it?
What you said sounded like I volunteered.
I think I did hear volunteering, so I'll provide his paperwork and highlighter. I don't know if this is a moot point right now or not, but there is an issue with the bench that we have, the way it was designed and constructed. So at some point in time, that will have to be addressed too.
Why is that?
What's that? The issue? Well, the height of the bench is a foot shorter than the bench that we have here. So when opposing counsel, Ron was with me, I showed him that's kind of the biggest concern, is when counsel comes to the bench, they're able to see over, to see any of the notes, to see anything the judge has written. It's too short. So court administration has agreed that the bench is too short, but it's,
Bob, didn't our architect get a sign off on that design before they proceeded with it? She should have.
I think she did. She wasn't willing to listen to much with that situation.
What's the penalty for having too short a bench?
well, I mean,
These are obviously aren't coming from our end. It's coming from the court.
No, but I mean, what's the penalty for having too short a bench? I mean, okay, you guys, I'm not gonna be your bench, or we're
Well,
gonna
it's
hold in
just
the grant fund and be, still give you a bigger bench.
yeah.
I mean,
Well, I guess, if it's a matter of just raising the bench, that can't be a very, very major cost. It can't be. I mean,
It's just the height of it, the height going up
and you have grant money that will pay for that, would offset that cost by 75%. I mean, if it is just a matter of raising the bench, what the penalty for it is, I have no idea. Jamie might roll in some information. I work with the judges.
Yeah, it just seemed like if this agency signed off on these drawings and said that is perfectly acceptable, well, they made a mistake, and they should. It should be 12 inches higher. They should pay for making their mistake, because they should have never signed off on a bench of that height.
We have a grant that'll pay for it.
Well, but I'm saying they should pay for it 100%.
Well, that's what they are paying for it through the grant if they pay for it. I mean, we probably find a way.
But they're not paying 100%.
Well, maybe we could do that with them. I mean, they can come up 25%. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't. You don't want to write it off just at face value. I mean, there's grant money available. It might be a $1,200 thing with 2x4s at tops.
And it could be
Four zipper blocks.
That mistake could be a liability that reflects in addition
Right.
to the grant.
Yeah. I've been talking about the bench. I know Kelly's mentioned to me. That's the first I've heard
Yeah.
of it. So.
What about the other things? You were saying like the witness stand is on the
Yeah.
wrong side.
and we didn't know. I mean, looking at the drawing on here, I mean, just it doesn't have measurements. Looking at the drawing, it looks the way it's built. I
Yeah,
didn't
I
have
think
the
they built it
input
by
as
the
far as
But,
that.
yeah, they built it by the plans.
Yeah.
And I think that plan was approved by somebody, so, by them.
Man. But yeah, that's something that the judge and court administration, they both have been through the courtroom and both have had concerns about the height of that bench. So just thought I'd mention that.
And the witness stand?
Well, in here, where our witness sits, the jurors are, they're kind of just directly this way. The way that it is sitting in here, the way the witness stand is sitting, it has to do with the way the jurors sit and how they have to crank their head to, if you had to sit there for a week like this, looking, everything is supposed to be cohesive and, it's just a concern that
What
they
was that?
have. I don't know.
Architect.
Saw they designed it. I don't know if the building authority approved that design. Well, I suppose they did. They had to have signed off on the drawing. Yeah, the DD drawings, you were here, Linda, just signing off, approving the DD drawings.
We'll have someone send us a letter that again, that we're not gonna have court here unless we change it around, and then we'll ask the judge if that's true or not. Like the last 3 times that happened.
Yeah, Ron, write that letter.
So I'm getting a little bit disturbed of the court system telling us what to do when the court system is independent of us. And they had every opportunity all through this process.
Well, as far as this bench change goes, it is the court administration said that's upon
They
your
signed
approval.
off on it.
No, what I'm saying is they're saying that's upon your approval to change it. They can't make you reconstruct this bench, but you know.
But they're recommending that we change it?
They're recommending it's not denied that it should be. But like I said, they're not gonna come in and say you have to do this, but
And you're asking the wrong people. This whole facility is owned by a private entity that built it to the specs that we desired, the county desired. It's not our responsibility. When are we ever going to get to the point of accountability in this? Just because the building authority runs away, then all of a sudden it's the obligation of the taxpayers of Griggs County to pick up the pieces. That's not the way it's to be wrong.
Okay, thank you, Kelly.
thank you.
I told Bob that I would get him on the agenda when he got here so he could get back to what he was working on. So, we'll go to
44.
44.
This is old courthouse.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
Old courthouse, new courthouse, yep. Did you reply to her that, about the work in progress?
The bids and that, that's my question here, what do you want me to tell her? I've been no part of the bidding or work process that's been going on. She's probably gonna want to see copies of the bids you received for the individual work, I'm assuming. Everything they've done there, they want a bid for. Is there bids available I can send her, or? From the flooring, from the electrical, they're gonna want bids for it, and I know that.
Yeah.
And she said the bids, how'd she put that? I talked to her. Just a second here. She said the project would have to be bid out for the federal part of it, which that's been, I guess, kind of a known all along.
Well, I guess Bergstrom Electric's finishing the electrical. They did it at the beginning. I mean, I don't think it's gonna be more.
So this is her question.
The Schultz turned in the bid, and KJ Ford turned in the bid.
No, that's not, she's asking for the bid process you use to hire these people now, the new ones. That's what she's asking, and she wants to know what the bids were. Have bids been accepted from the bidding process?
Well, yeah, I got the bid from KJ Flooring, I can show you that.
No, she wants to see all the bids. You know, the request for bids that's in paper and stuff. That's what she's gonna want.
That's not what it says here.
I guarantee that's a different one, John.
But if it's under 120,000, isn't it? Or under 200,000, you don't have to go out for bids. Isn't that what,
What's that?
if it's under 120,000?
Well, for county or state funds, it's under 100,000. I really don't know what it is for federal funds, but I would assume that they use the same regulations.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not arguing it. And you let me know what you want me to tell her, and I'll tell her that.
Well, there were a lot of things, Bob, that were reimbursed on this project that weren't out for bids. So the argument doesn't hold a lot of water. We turned in a lot of things that were never put out for bids. They were just actual costs, and a check was written, and then they were reimbursed. So maybe possibly, I don't know where you draw the line, but if that's the case, then we have a whole bunch of other costs that need to be quantified.
That's not what it says.
I know it is, but that's what Bob's saying, and I'm trying to.
All I can tell you is my experience with the DES on any projects, whether I'm buying radios, they want bids and they want to know who you asked, who submitted bids and how you were. They want to see the bids that you picked off the group.
Yeah, but like for construction engineers, they didn't even get any drywall bids, and they didn't even get any rough carpentry bids. They just did that without any bidding at all.
It's a project cost. I mean, overall project. I know there's an AG's opinion.
The whole building wasn't even bid.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
jeez.
You win.
Well, that's the way it is.
You win.
Well, Bob,
you asked me.
We're trying to get this finished, and now it seems like when we get over to your point of view where we want to get it finished, now you want to throw roadblocks in the way.
I'm not throwing a roadblock. I can tell you what. She's asked, have the bids been accepted?
Yes.
I will tell her yes. Okay, I'm telling her yes. And then if she comes back and they want to see the bidding process, what am I going to give? I'm asking you guys to tell me what I'm going to give her. Because I was no part of that bidding process on what's being done.
Well, Bob, there's all kinds of things that have been done that we've been reimbursed for that never went through a bidding process. Look at all the different reimbursements that were never itemized or never bid.
Let's just go through this.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
I know, but
John, I'm not arguing with any of that. I'm just saying if
You're just anticipating that.
You're right. I can see it coming. So I will just tell her yes, and then what far as status was, is there a percentage you want me to give her, or how close we are, or?
I don't know if I can give you one. I mean, you can tell her the woodwork is done and the flooring is in and the electrician is working on it and the heating and cooling guy is working on that.
I'll just do that and I'll CC Sam what I send.
It's pretty damn close to being
Just exterior concrete work is all it's like.
exterior landscaping and concrete work is the biggest thing.
and a few panes of glass.
Well,
Oh, yeah, in the doors.
Yeah.
So I'll just give her a general where it's at, and the bids were accepted, and it's proceeding forward to get done. I'll
And Travis
leave
Paul,
it there.
so we didn't do Travis Paul either. But anyway.
so there's a reimbursement on the way. Is that what
Yeah, she said it's there with the process today, I think she said there. Yeah, today's the 5th, so you said it's on the 4th.
Yeah, I came up with the same number she did, that it looks like with that latest payment, they will have paid us $901,010.30 out of the $988 that we could.
And then if you look at her first part of her spreadsheet, that Schultz's Plumbing Heating, they rejected that initial middle on that because it said repairs on it.
Right.
We had the same problem with Jamestown Communications. They had they had a whole order of invoices from their company that said repair invoices, not sales, and we had the same problem with them.
So we contacted them and had them re-invoice us?
Well, they asked me the question in email. I sent it back and I said, no, that was for new work.
Right.
So I don't know where that's
So
at.
we'll probably have to get hold of Schultz and have them re-invoice that.
potentially.
What about the big one, rental of dehumidifiers, $10,000?
Same situation there. They asked for response to that, gave that to them, what it was for. And
You've already given it to them?
yes, yeah.
And they didn't reject it or accept it yet?
No, not yet.
Okay, so that'll be on.
I'm assuming,
in the
yes.
future.
Yeah, Connie contacted me and I did the response back on the dehumidifiers when they were put in and purpose of them, and
But that number correlates from what Ron and I have. The only difference that I have is that there still is $52,000 that we took out of county funds when we paid mitigation that needs to come back out of the account, and we need to do that at the end of the year. So, right now, there's $70-some thousand in that account, Ron, is that right?
Yeah, that's the way, I guess I looked at it, that we received 901,000 from the DES, and we paid 821,000 to construction engineers and the building authority.
Right.
And so it leaves 79,000 in there. Some of that 79,000 might have been paid to Kraft or something, but just the payments to DES and the building authority.
Yeah.
Connie and I started yesterday, and we looked again today. We're going back through each one of these items. If there's a question on the percentage that we're reimbursed, we're going to address that with the DS. We already told them to anticipate that, and they said that's fine. If there's something to back it up, they'll be happy to look at it and correct it.
Did you talk to them about the issue that moving forward, anything else now put in for reimbursement will be 100% EOC? Or
I haven't yet,
yeah,
but
some,
I will.
some needs to make them
Yes.
aware, or we need to quantify that nothing.
In our submittal, our request for reimbursement, we can spell it out clearly in there. This is 100% EOC costs
Right.
from this point. That's it as of today.
So using that still holds about true, that about $96,000 to be spent without putting any more county dollars into the project. So it gives a 25% match.
Oh.
24,000 is the match, and
So we'll get the OC done anyway.
so using that formula, we would come up about $8,000 short of maximizing the grant.
Yeah, be real close.
Yeah.
And I mentioned to Ron, we had a visit the other day outside here, you know, if you need to buy equipment to maintain this building, that's all eligible underneath this. I mean, if you decide, you know, before the deadline that you guys want to buy a Bobcat to take care of this property and something else, there could be a cost share split there with the EOC grant, because that will be to maintain part of the property. I mean, those things are eligible under this grant, maintenance costs.
Yeah, I don't think I think we're gonna get to the $89,000 pretty quickly here. That it appears like the bids that construction engineers had set aside for the curb and gutter were fictitious. They were $8,000 for the paving and $5,000 for the curb and gutter. Well, the closest bid we've got to that so far is $42,000 for the curb and gutter. It appears like that was, and when I talked to the people that supposedly did the curb and gutter, they didn't know anything about it. So we're not going to have, using the estimates they have to finish and the money that they envision to finish isn't going to come over it. So I think we're going to spend most of the money just in finishing the project. I don't think there's going to be any grant dollars left, but possibly.
Yes, I'm always saying there's if there is anything left you want to maximize every penny, there's things you can buy for inside the building that, you know, like the janitorial might need. Those things are all eligible costs on this.
Well, the 24,000 would get us 96,000 total, and 72, so there'd be $12,000 up in that as well.
So, is that it for that?
I think so. That's yeah. As long as they've gone through and we were denied payment reimbursement from the start on things, and because of lack of documentation. Did we ever follow up on that and with documentation and
yeah, anything that they want documentation of, we have provided, and we're going to go back through this again.
Okay.
I still have an angst about some of the first things that they denied, because the approval date was before that, and I don't know. I'm gonna fight them on that one.
the one that comes to mind as the craft architects that they were using the 34% of engineering costs for the EOC when it's obvious that there was more engineering costs in the EOC than the rest of the building. And right there would pick us up a bunch of the money.
Yeah, and I think they adjusted that. Like on this one here,
They
they're
have.
using 59%.
Yeah.
There's one other item too, I gave to Ron. The light pole we talked about, what the agreement was there, Otter Tail would supply this light pole. Instead of just a little wood pole with the arm on it, it's a standard fiberglass carbon fiber pole. And they would provide that just like any other city light in town, and they will maintain it just like the rest of street lights, as long as we took care of the electricity to the light pole. So that was done. There's a copy of it there. And
But
that-
Bergstrom knows about that, don't they?
Yeah, I think they did. Yeah, because I think the power's already buried over there. There's a tube there for it. So
Right.
Yeah, and I talked to the guy from Bergstrom yesterday, and he was getting ready to work on it.
yeah, 'cause the pole that was on the corner was basically hanging like this. It's been there since before my time until they pulled it out and it didn't work.
Can you give us any report on what's going on around here, or is that still
With the tractors?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure, most of you know Tim Soma's tractor got damaged. His initial call was a shop, but ended up being beat up by a hammer.
Yeah.
And then
Well,
the week previous,
Brian
Henstrom's got the people involved. We're working on it right now.
So that Brian's was a hammer job too.
Yeah, we thought it was a gunshot, and how that unfolded. By the time they got me involved, they had driven on everything. And Brian said, "Yeah, there was no footprints. They must have been shot. Well, these are just our tracks." Well, then he talked to Grant to follow me. He said, "No, there was footprints there when I got there."
Oh,
but
really?
it was we screwed them up.
They didn't know enough to stay the hell out of there.
Yeah. So between the two, this Soma's looking at 85 to 9 grand probably, and his I think was 7,500. It's going to be.
How about Elwood?
Elwood has never contacted me.
Really?
I just got, and did that actually happen? Because I got word that I think it was a mistaken of whose tractor got damaged up here. Because I've seen Elwood was in my office here, said, "Where's Elwood?"
Somebody told me somebody broke into a shop,
Yeah.
stole a bunch of tools.
Yes, he hasn't called me. I don't know.
Okay. Well,
And I know Elwood very well. I get along very well. I'm sure he would have called me if there was something he was concerned about.
I'll be darned.
Yeah. Because I got one yesterday. I said, "Well, he hasn't called my office."
I'll be down.
Yeah.
So is this all these kids are of age?
Yeah. Yeah, they're all of age. They're all over 18.
So that's felony route.
Yeah, it'll be a C felony. I mean, that would be the charging level. If it had been 10,000, it would have been a B felony. We can't lump two together.
Well, there are two different events. Actually, there's three different events.
Yeah.
There's another one?
Oh, the mailbox, same night as tractor.
Oh,
And that wasn't.
that's a federal offense, so isn't it?
No. It's property damage.
Oh,
Yeah. We don't really tell anybody that, but.
They accidentally hit it.
No, they didn't actually hit it. It was on purpose. It was on purpose. There was a reason they did it.
Okay. I run over them all the time.
so do they get in trouble for that, or is that a
Mailbox?
swatting? No, for all this business.
Well, we plan to charge with a felony initially.
I mean, do they get punished, or does that?
Oh, we're gonna try to get
is
as
it
much.
is it a hand slap?
We're gonna try to get as many teeth in there as we can. I mean,
It looks like it costs us in jail, and let's just go for restitution.
I'm not arguing with that. I know one of them, the community would love to see jail, so we're working hard on that one.
Ron had a question on Trail County. In regional corrections, that's for people that we
Yes.
send
Yeah.
over there on their weekends or something.
We had 2 people jailed over there.
Yeah.
That's for it. And the cost difference is, it's not much cost difference.
No, we were just
Like weekend retreats.
Yeah, well, the one was just, he was in for quite some time.
He was actually, the one was in on a concurrent sentence with Steele County, and that's where Steele County sends the prisoners. He was released earlier on Steele County's, and our sentence was service time of Griggs County.
And then we had one that kicked out a little bit early on medical, so we wouldn't have that bill. And he was low key.
Okay. Let's talk about the keys a little bit in this courthouse. I'm a little confused with what's going on here.
One thing I was gonna mention, it is 3:24. If we could take a 5-minute break, it'd be 3:30, but.
If you want me to talk about key, let's do it now.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Okay.
There's not a very big crowd gathering for
That's true.
for the equalization meeting. I bet if we started it 10 minutes late, it wouldn't matter. So what's the key plan? I see you signed this administrative document.
Yeah, I'll explain that. When they ordered the keys, that central door, Russell and Corbin, someone on this end had to be there, has to sign off as the person that's going to get the keys. So that was me at that time. Now, who does this going forward? It makes no difference to me. It's just it would be like on a checking account. There's got to be an authorized signature that says we want to order a replacement tumbler, or we want to do this, or we want to do that. That's what it's about. There's nothing else with me there.
Right now, we're missing a master key, and I don't really want to rekey the courthouse very bad.
I have one key that opens that door in the back here. That's all I have. I only have one key.
Is it a master?
It doesn't open the rest of the building.
So we're supposed to have 3 masters?
We were 7 keys short, and I called out to, that was when we got the box. And I called out to construction engineers, and they said that they had found 4 keys, 1 control, 1 master A, B, and C. They sent those back and then informed me that your key and my key were the other 2.
Yep.
So we're still missing just 1 master key.
Yes, it took us 3 attempts to get that key in, so I had 2 keys and 1 was left at the courthouse, and that's it.
Okay, but yours is a master key and Bob's is not, though.
Oh.
Bob is saying his is not a master.
Well, we can try the rest of the doors, but some of the doors I've tried, it hasn't opened.
Where's your key?
Where's my key? Downstairs.
Where's your key, Bob?
In my center console.
Oh, let's look at it.
Okay.
How about the only other, does Alan Olson have a key?
Who?
Alan Olson, the heating.
I would have no idea. Those keys were given out by construction engineers. I didn't have any keys to give up. The only key I had was the one I got.
I contacted construction engineers and asked if there was anybody else that could have had it. Alan with the...
Agassi?
Yep, we contacted him and he doesn't.
I know when he's come back and stuff, I've had to come and let him in, or somebody else has had to let him in.
Okay, so you let him in when you got into the last?
Yep, and I can, yeah, he just took a few little things, he had his and junk and left.
Yeah.
I walked through until, I was looking until he left.
Well, I think just for, just for continuity, I think the county commissioner should be the administrators of the key account, and that way it'll just go on and on and on, and there's.
Okay, explain wrong. I have no dog in that fight at all. It makes no difference to me. It could have been anyone sign that paper. We talked about having the treasurer do it, whoever.
I don't know, but how do we resolve the master key issue?
If there's a master key missing, it's got to be construction engineers, because I'm the only one that got 2 keys, and they're both accounted for. That's the only keys I've ever had for the building.
And when we got that box and then you taped it back up, I was the one that untaped it and we did the keys, and there was 7 missing, and then I got all 6 of them accounted for.
So you got your key from Bob?
Correct.
Yep.
We need to talk to, as soon as we become administrators, we can talk to them. The way I understand it on those lock sets, the master keys, the sub-master keys, and on down the line, if you start from the top, the master key, you can change that by putting another dog into it, so they could possibly just change out the master keys and then go each lock set and adjust the locks and putting their dog in there to accept it. That from the master point, the top end of it you can do that, and the bottom end you can't do it. So it's possible that we wouldn't have to rekey the whole place. We would just set the tumblers in all the locks with another dog, and then rekey the 5 master keys. But I don't know if they did it that way or not. But that's a possibility.
And if it's under the seat in somebody's pickup, it don't matter. But we don't know that.
You don't know
So
that.
you don't know if you want to accept that risk.
Yeah, I just can't imagine who would have it. No one locally, I can't see would have that key. It had to have been some of the construction engineers. I mean, it had to have been.
Or a subcontractor.
Right, exactly.
Like I said, it's under the
And they
seat.
held them keys pretty tight too.
Huh?
I said they held them keys pretty tight.
Construction engineer?
Yeah,
Yeah, they should have.
yeah, they did.
Or they're supposed to.
But it looks like Bob's going to, if you're in agreement, Bob, you need to send a letter to
Sure. Yeah, whatever. I give Ron stuff the other day. I told him whatever it takes. He's got the folder here.
Corbin, right?
I think there's a form for change. I think there's a form for
I
changing
think
that.
Samantha should have this. If the policies and procedures and guidelines.
I think there's a form I got to fill out and send in. It's their
All
form.
the forms are in there.
Well, then you need an administrator, and then you need operational administrators, or whatever you want to call it. So, you know, on this one, Cindy and Kelly and Connie were authorized signers.
I think that was done too. That way they could actually accept a key when it was delivered. They could sign for it. If I remember right. Because they also would be the ones that would be, you know, employed with keys and that. But I don't think anyone in this building cares who's on it. It just at the time somebody had to do it, they picked me, so I did it.
Because like the master key, I don't think any of those should be out, should they?
The master key? I don't think so.
the custodian should probably have one.
For the evidence room?
No.
And stuff like that?
I think if I remember right,
But there's one level below that.
the master key. There's a couple of places the master key I think didn't open. I think they're a sub-master janitors could have, or the custodian, whoever. Because those keys didn't open the evidence room, and I don't think they didn't open the IT room.
Because to me, those keys should be held close
Yep.
and used in an emergency situation. They shouldn't be
Yeah, the plan there was they'd be
Hanging
locked
on
within
some-
my office someplace in
hanging
one
on
of those
somebody's
computer rooms.
keychain.
That way, if we had, if I haven't, you know, like I explained to Ron, if I need to get into someone's space to somehow protect them or take care of a problem in their space, I need a key to get in all them spaces, and that's how that submaster came about. And that was at the, you know, the people at Corbin Russin, they were quite helpful with some of that.
Oh, I can imagine.
Kind of actually mind-boggling some of it. But Kurt's lock and key when he was here, that guy that day we were here, he looked at that key. He said they could take care of that if they ever got, you know, authorization to do so.
I see.
So it looks like it just says I will immediately notify Corbin Ruskin Key Systems in writing if you're no longer the administrator. So I don't think there's a form. It just says
Okay.
in writing.
Yeah, I thought you said there was a form for that.
Yeah. And then we just need to determine who the other authorized signatures, and I think it should be the 5 county commissioners. I'm not quite sure how this form ended up being sent in without us looking at it. It was done 10/1/2014, so we were the county commissioners at the time. First I've seen it, but nevertheless.
Yeah, if you guys don't want it, if you guys want all the way on the form, so it needs 5 year signatures, whatever.
We're missing a master key A.
And what is master key A? Is there anything higher than that?
There's a control key, an A, an AA, and an AB. And we're missing an A.
The control key is for evidence storage, right?
I'm assuming I haven't seen the printouts for none of it. I haven't seen any of it.
we're missing an A, which is the second highest.
That's what I'm thinking.
Well, if you could, I mean, if, so that we can determine what we're missing and talk to them, because we can't even talk to them right now, right?
No, not until we get the form sent in.
So we don't know what our options are until we can talk to them.
Well, can I get that folder back from Sam and I'll complete that and I'll put it all back to her in one piece so that it's all together. I'll get my letter put in there.
Yeah, then at some point in time, we probably should write to Corbin Russman saying that we want to authorize Kirk's Lock and Key to have the key blanks and to be authorized to make changes. 'Cause
Yeah.
otherwise, they won't be able to come out and, they won't even be able to make a blank key for us until we tell Corbin Russman that Kirk's can do that.
And that guy who told me, he said right now they could not make that key even if they wanted.
Yeah, so
But they have to get permission from.
North Carolina, I think.
So it'd be my motion that we have the 5 commissioners plus the 2 people in the auditor's office as authorized signatures. So that we can, if the commissioners aren't here, if they're delivering something or,
Right.
yeah.
So that any one of those signatures could order a new lock or a new key. Right?
I would guess so.
Okay, I'll get that written mail though.
Okay.
Was that a motion?
There's a
That was the
motion.
yeah.
Is there a second to the motion?
I second.
Seconded by Ron. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay. Any other questions for Ron? Bob?
You're gonna smooth things over with EES then, so we're just moving forward as far as the bidding thing?
Yeah, I'm just gonna tell them that the bid's accepted and the work is progressing. I'll tell them, I'll give them some status update where we're at. I have no desire to derail it.
It
shouldn't require bidding approval,
Right.
Yeah, I'm not sure that because I know when I talked to construction engineers way back up front, they said that when you have an overall project like this, you can't piecemeal down to get under any kind of a threshold. So I don't know, but that's what he told me back then. But it's nothing I'm concerned about. Yeah. I think you go now.
I think Ron took more moves to take a 5-minute break.
I did a long time ago.
15 minutes ago.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's the time.
How long about recess? A minute?
Ron's moving pretty fast.
Yeah, it is.
He must have meant it. Call the meeting back to order. We better go back up to the tax equalization. We don't have much of a crowd.
I thought I remembered that Emily had told the assessors and everybody that you guys wanted them to be here. Was that correct? You guys remember if she had said that?
They're supposed to be.
Yeah, I read that in the century code. I read that in the century code, and then I was like, well, I think that Emily had already contacted them, and so I didn't do anything. It was last night that I had read about this, so it was probably too late to ask them to come
I'm
in.
just disappointed. I was expecting a crowd in there.
We'd have to move.
But I guess, I suppose it should have been notified, and they probably wouldn't have attended anyway.
Well, it's like our township assessor, he has a full-time job. He just wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
No, he's not gonna skip work to
Yeah.
with that said, is Connie gonna come up here or what?
Nope. Just
She's the
me.
tax director.
Does she know she's the tax director?
Well, she must have put this together.
With the help of Emily, yeah.
Right.
Emily helped her a lot with this.
Right. And the accept as submitted, that's a recommendation of the individual assessors.
Where are you at?
Yeah, I think it is.
Page 31, 32 and 33, except the only one, two parcels that have modifiers that we need to accept, the way it looks.
That is the one, if that's highlighted, and then on page 33 is why it's highlighted.
Right.
Yeah. So then those two are with each other, and then like on Broadview, there's two parcels, and
Yep.
and then Speardrop, there's one parcel, and all those parcels are on page 34 and 35. Would be those changes.
But one of them said they had used too big of a modifier, right?
Correct. If it's 01, it is Broadview, Speardrop is 02, and so forth. I tried to take as many notes as I could, but
Well, yeah, they wanted their modifier increased from 30% to 50%. The way I read it.
I do believe you're right. Is your purchase gonna be-
They wanted to be, on the one, they wanted to be, well, on both of them, 20% rock and 30% inaccessibility.
Right, yeah,
Raising it up to 50 for those four soil types.
yeah.
Where's that at?
On this long page.
36.
Oh.
Yeah, the two things up there, that's the way it used to be. And this stuff down here is the way they want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
So they want it to be up to 50% from the previous 30%. Or for the previous whatever it was.
And the township recommended to accept it as submitted,
I don't know.
apparently.
When the assessor, they came to the township meeting
Broadview.
and had a concern because it wasn't matching up with neighboring properties, and the assessor said he'd look into it. So that's the assessor's recommendation that it be changed in order to match up with the adjoining properties, that it was overvalued.
I think
In comparison
technically, it should be something in writing for them approving it, but, and then we have that in our records that the township assessor was in agreement.
Well, the note on there is what the explanation for it. These two parcels can be used for pasture only and need to have modifiers raised up to the new maximum 50%.
Yeah, I think it's fine, it just should have had the township assessor.
And then there was another one?
On page 37, those were all overlooked. So you guys, I guess Connie said that you guys should be doing something about those.
37.
Yeah.
37 is before 36.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't want them all to be printed on this kind of paper, so.
So you mean overlooked? They,
Never been on the tax rolls.
oh, I see.
So these, like that first one, that would be in
06.
Greenfield or whatever the hell that township is down there. But I mean, all of these are all different kinds of townships, right?
Connie said these are all in Mo's.
Oh, no, not all of them.
Not all of them?
No.
Okay.
Cheeks Bar and Hannaford.
So just those ones in that one.
I think maybe this block here is
Box,
all
yeah,
involved.
that one.
Yeah, that block is, but the first one is in Greenfield, well, the 06 would be Greenfield, and then the 08 would be Cooperstown,
Okay, yeah.
and the 15 would be Willow Township, 19 would be Bryan Township. Well, all of those are moles, yeah. 22,
Well, that one in Willow Township is what got purchased from the county, that water.
That,
Right.
that's Russ's?
Yeah. He paid $29 for it.
I know.
Well, what's it worth? Nobody else was willing to pay more.
but like that first one, the 67,110, did the township assessor in Greenfield? Yes, the very first one there, 67,110, increase for buildings and structure. That was in Greenfield Township. Did the Greenfield assessor turn in something or approve it? Is that where that number came from?
You're not gonna know that.
I'm so sorry, I don't.
No, it's not your job. It's not your job.
Their
It's not your
assessors,
job.
Samantha, or not Samantha. Emily.
That's got to be somebody's new house.
Yeah.
Or it's
Somebody that didn't file an exemption.
did file exemption, or there was a property that Central Plains bought that
Oh.
was exempt prior probably, and then they bought it and then it came on.
Which one? This first one?
Yeah.
I don't think that's exempt though, because that, you talking about that farm?
Yeah.
They got rid of that. That can't be.
In the 67,110, the recent sale. So they're using the sale price as the justification to raise the property value. That's right.
So Dan came to Greenfield's meeting and wondered how that was done. He says he wasn't gonna complain about it because of their overall tax, it was insignificant, but
Right.
he wondered how it came to pass that this property had this value.
Yeah, and it flies in direct contradiction to number 3, purchased from the county, because it was purchased from the county for $29, but we want to increase it to $4,500. But recent sale, it was increased by $67,100, and we're willing to go that way, but not the other way. So,
The one about the Cheeks Bar addition,
what's that?
on this overlooked property,
Yeah.
37, it's Cheeks Bar, and they added on to Cheeks Bar, but it never got assessed.
Right.
And so that's why there's a question mark, is that it should be raised, but so
Don't they have an assessor in Hannaford?
they're wondering if you would like just Farah to go out there and look at it, come up with something, and then.
I don't think they have an assessor in Hannaford, do they?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, or Binford, either one, I don't think has one.
So wondering if you guys wanted to talk to Farah to see if she would go out there and just give us what she would.
Well, is she a qualified assessor?
Mm-hmm.
She did it for the city, I think.
Yeah.
Do you want to have Farah go do that if she would?
Yeah, that's all
I think
fun.
so.
I don't know what they.
exemptions are expiring.
Like a lot of them.
No.
Yeah, I'm not sure why, like for Nolan Johnson, it says split parcel, and then it went up $2,482. I don't know why splitting a parcel would increase the value. You got the same soil types in each parcel. It should be based on those soil types.
I think that he received half of a parcel.
Oh, okay, so
I think-
it's an additional parcel.
Yep, I think so.
Okay.
I remember that deed coming through my office,
Okay.
and I'm thinking that's what it was, but
I wonder what the Mo's, it's a net zero return as far as, but it's vacant, it's from commercial. and-
Reclassified.
Right, I don't understand why Mo's would be, turn it to commercial rather than residential, but,
Maybe there's big plans underway for that.
well, I mean, there's no railroad there, there's no road going into it, it isn't anything else, but it's a zero net change in tax in valuation, so. And you decrease it in a residential property and put it over in a commercial property. Oh, maybe there's no house there anymore.
Oh, maybe. Where's the big one? We were gonna add Central Plains. We had a special assessor evaluate it and come up with a number.
I don't think the assessment's done yet, is it?
Oh, okay, that's not,
I didn't hear anything. I haven't
doubt
heard
it.
anything from that assessor, so.
It's only been about 2 meetings ago we did that, so.
okay, so.
No, it's been longer. than
It's
that.
been,
Is it?
it's
I
been a
thought so,
long, it's been a while.
But they gave a long window of when they'd have the opportunity
We'd get there and do it, yeah.
It was here when, that was the last meeting, and it was here when we decided we did that.
Also,
Well, those commercial appraisers
Yeah.
are 6 months out.
yeah.
That's not gonna be, that's not gonna
I guess I thought of it when, for the town of Mold, did a commercial appraiser have to do that?
be. Yeah.
I wouldn't think so. I think it's just, it's a certain value.
Oh, okay. I just thought for commercial property, you had to have a commercial.
You guys noticed the 5% overall blanket increase? I'm
So,
sure.
What is that? Oh,
On ag land.
yeah.
Page 33. Page 33, right?
It's this page.
33.
33,
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I was looking at a different one.
under recommendations. Also, you notice there that they recommended that we pay Emily for helping us out, which I'm all in favor of, but that's not much of a direction there. 'Cause how can you pay somebody if you can't quantify?
Time and dollar.
That is about the lamest recommendation I've ever seen in my short life.
Well, I think we should contact her and see what she,
Times you put in.
times you put in and what she is gonna charge us for
Well, I
doing
think
what
we
she
should
did.
just ask her what she thinks is fair.
Right.
I mean,
Yep,
that doesn't do it.
no.
So can you contact Emily and see, I mean, absolutely we should,
I think just contact her and have her invoice us.
Yeah,
I mean, and.
that'd be the best.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
have her invoice us for her time, and, the way things are going, we'll probably need her again.
And again, and again.
Not too much longer, and Sam will have it figured out, and we won't need anybody.
Oh my god.
You like it.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think so.
Recommended ag land increase, I mean,
Who
do we want to
recommended that?
do we want to, that's a state.
No.
Do we want to make a symbolic gesture again? 'Cause it
Yep.
doesn't do any good.
Well,
Okay, the chance we take by doing that, and it took a whole lot of negotiating with them last year, was, and it isn't right, but they do it. They have the ability to raise it to 100%.
Yep.
And they threatened and threatened and threatened last year, and through a lot of negotiation, we got them just to put it right over the 90%, because I pled ignorance, which they believe real easily. And but
They might not.
they might not this time.
We have to have somebody else call them.
So the symbolic gesture could hold a pretty big penalty. Now, we could take it to 90.02%, but they still have the ability to accept or deny that, and they can take it to 100%. Now, they said that they could, but in research that we did, I never found that they've done that, but they have taken it to 98, 99%. They like 95%. The bad thing about it last year, when all these arguing with them, they only told me this percentage was going up for this year. And how can that be? So
Because the actual value of ag land has dropped about 25%.
yeah, but it's dropped 25%, so you divide that by 8. So it should have dropped 3%. There should have been a drop anyway. You know, because this is over an 8-year period what they do, and it's not exactly that way. It's both the high and the low, and yeah. So that's the risk we take.
Yeah, I know Barnes County, they just have a standing rule to use 90.5%.
Yeah.
But that could just as well be 90.1% or 90.02 or.
Well, as long as there's been a standard established by the counties, that's what we should go with, because they might be wanting to make an example of somebody.
Well, I don't know, but if we could find another county that uses 90.01.
Yeah. So the stand either way is going to be symbolic, because no matter what we do, they're going to raise it. They proved it to us last year.
so why do they even bother with us?
Well, I'm not sure. Definitely. But that doesn't mean we all have to vote yes. Somebody wants to take a symbolic stand. I'm resigned to the fact that we're going to have to vote to raise it to the 90 point whatever. Because we're going to do it anyway, and then all they're going to do is pressure Sam, because they'll send her a registered letter saying that the Attorney General is.
Speaking of the Attorney General, he's going to be speaking at the Cooperstown Country Club on July 7th, and I happen to have tickets in my pickup.
Yep. Nope. Is it a Republican?
District 23.
Tell me you can't talk to me, then I'm not talking to him.
Well, you talked to him, and he started talking, John. What are your wishes on the recommendations of Connie and Samantha?
I know last year Cindy forced us to do one at a time. We had to take she said that we had to take Cooperstown, vote on it. We had to take Hannaford, vote on it. Okay?
Oh, each one of these?
That's what we did last year.
I think that's what you did last
You
year.
did.
And
But I mean-
she said it had to be done that way, but I don't know if I I've never
Read
seen it
anything
in the
like
century.
that.
I think a blanket one would be.
Yeah, it seems like it. It didn't make much sense to have to do it.
Well, you want to go out on a limb, or do you want to do it that way?
Well, could we vote on all the ones that are labeled accept as submitted? And then we make a decision on one Broadview.
That's
And
it.
then we need to make a decision whether we're gonna raise the ag land value.
Well, it says the first order of business must be equalization or assessment of properties assessed by city board of equalization. Second order of business is township board. And I have to keep an accurate journal of records of proceedings in order of said board.
Okay. Well, then let's vote on one at a time.
Okay.
You made all the motions last year.
Do it again.
Nervous, man.
So,
I'd make a motion to accept the city of Cooperstown's equalization as submitted.
Been moved by Sean to accept the city of Cooperstown's equalization as submitted. Is there a second to the motion?
I'd second.
Seconded by Dale. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any discussions? Do we have to have a voice vote on this thing? No.
please,
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. City of Hannaford.
I'd make a motion to accept the city of Hannaford's equalization as submitted.
Been moved.
Second that?
Been moved by Sean, seconded by John, to accept the city of Hannaford's equalization recommendations as presented. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. City of Benford.
I'd make a motion to accept the city of Benford's equalization recommendation as submitted.
Been moved by Sean to accept the city of Benford's equalization recommendations as submitted. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
who did it?
Seconded by Dale. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Broadview Township. That's the one where they want to
Change their 2 parcels.
That's where they're increasing it from 30 to 50.
I'd make a motion that we accept the change in the modifiers from Broadview Township on Coonsey properties from 30% to 50%.
Been moved by Dale to accept the 50% modifier on the Coonsey property. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Ron. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Broadview as a whole.
Make a motion to accept Broadview's equalization recommendation as submitted.
Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Seconded by Ron. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Sturgis Township.
Make a motion to accept Sturgis' recommendation of equalization with the inclusion of the 1 parcel increase in ag value and the 1 parcel of residential value as submitted.
Been moved by Sean to accept the recommendations by the Sturgis equalization. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by John. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Washburn Township. I don't get this Washburn deal because there's a Mark and Lisa Martin's thing. Oh, that's that house in town. Okay.
Make a motion to accept Washburn Township's recommendation of equalization with the inclusion of one residential parcel value added as submitted.
Is there a second to Sean's motion?
Second.
Seconded by Ron. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Well, that's where I saw this. So in Romness Township, if the soils table only allows for 309, does that mean that they had to put some modifiers in there too? Guessing?
Was it left at 309 or did they lower it
Yeah, I
to?
don't know what they did.
They wanted to, but the soil's still going.
Said they lowered it to 140.
No, it says they wanted to.
Oh, township wanted it lowered, okay.
They must have left it at 309 and
Or lowered it to 309.
lowered it. Yeah, maybe, I don't know.
That's how I'm interpreting it,
Okay,
I guess.
I guess they figured it out, whatever they did.
Okay.
Accept as submitted.
I make a motion to accept the recommendation for Romness Township's equalization with the inclusion of one residential parcel and the inclusion of one parcel of soil value being lowered as submitted.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Seconded by Ron. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Lenora Township.
And make a motion to accept Lenora Township's recommendation of equalization with the inclusion of one parcel of residential value deleted and one parcel of commercial building now exempt farm as submitted.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Seconded by Dale. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Greenfield Township.
Make a motion to accept Greenfield's Township's recommendation of equalization with the removal of one residential parcel and one parcel request for 10% modifier on east 40 acres as submitted.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dale. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Paul Hill.
And make a motion to accept the recommendation of equalization of Bald Hill Township, Tyrol Township, Pilot Mound Township, Bartley Township, Helena Township, Clearfield Township, Addy Township, Dover Township, Maple Township, and Bryan Township, and Rosendahl Township with no changes.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Ron. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Cooperstown Township.
And make a motion to accept Cooperstown Township's recommendation of equalization with the inclusion of one parcel residential value added as submitted.
Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Seconded by Ron. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Willow Township.
I'll try it. I'll make a motion that Willow Township be accepted with one parcel exemption no longer in effect, and otherwise accept as submitted.
Is there a second to that motion?
Screwed it up.
No, I'll second it.
Seconded by Dale. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. It was this one here that we just did. That was, this one is Ron. Who seconded that?
Dale.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
Thank you.
Okay. And last but not least, Kingsley Township.
Oh, I found it. Okay, I make a motion that Kingsley Township be accepted with one parcel residence value added and otherwise accepted as submitted.
Is there a second to that motion?
It's second.
Seconded by Dale. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Now, for the overall recommended ag land increase of 5%, to bring the county within the 90% guideline from the state. Anyone have any thoughts?
Well, mine is just 90.5. Since Barnes County uses 90.5, I'm sure we wouldn't get in trouble at 90.5.
So you're recommending 4.5 increase?
Whatever it is. Yeah,
Yeah,
it would be
bigger.
4.5.
Okay.
86 to 90.
Increase it to 90.5%.
Yeah, I think you better say where you're increasing it to rather than the increase,
Yeah.
because of the base number, we don't know what that is. For
Yeah, that's true. So I make a motion that we increase the ag land value to 90.5% of the assessed true and full value of the ag land.
How much?
90.5%.
Of the NDSU?
Yeah, of the NDSU.
Yeah, it'd be up to true and full value.
True and full value as determined by NDSU.
Okay. So second to that motion.
I'll second the motion.
Seconded by Sean. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Samantha's gonna ask Emily to present us with an invoice. What's this time card in here? We don't see these very often.
Do you want to talk about that now, or do you want to open the floor to abstract?
Well, I think we need to approve the changes for the abstract changes for true and full value. And then we need to go through the overlooked properties. Yeah. And add it in, right?
Say what?
We need to go in and approve the adding of the overlooked properties and change the abstract values also. I don't think we need to do that one at a time.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the number? Text number?
701 789 9864. Say what?
9064.
9864.
986. Okay, we'll go to page 34 first and talk about the abstract for changes in true and full value, and page 35, which is more of the same.
This is 34 and 35. Yeah, I guess the math must be right. I'm surprised on residential property, it came to a total of 740,000. When I first looked at these numbers, I said, there's no way those numbers can add up to 740,000, but they must. There's one big number in there, 285, and there's a 122 and a
179.
179. Yeah, they must add up to that. It's just a much bigger number than I expected. I assume your spreadsheet is correct.
9864.
Well, there's a couple of them there that are pretty big.
Yeah, 3 of them are pretty big, so,
That's almost 600,000.
yeah, so it must be.
Did John and Susan Goplin quit farming or something?
Should they build a new house and have it exempt, I'm not sure.
Something was exempt.
I don't know.
I'd make a motion to accept the 2015 abstract for changes in true and full value of ag property, residential property, and commercial properties.
Been moved by Sean to accept the 2015 abstract for changes in true and full value on ag, residential, and commercial property. Is there a second to that motion?
I'd second.
Seconded by Dale. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now to the overlooked properties.
We're gonna have Farah look at it and for next year.
We really can't
Oh, okay.
do that right now, can we? Unless we just single that one out and wait until we find something. Or maybe what we should do, since it's not going to be a very big deal, is just approve them as they are and have Farah reevaluated for next year.
Seems reasonable.
Yeah, because there's not a value in there anyway, so.
That's what I mean.
Just on the one?
Just on Cheeks Bar.
What do we do with the elevator propane plant over there? They're supposed to be on the tax rolls and they haven't been raised, so how does that work? Did their exemption?
I don't know how that works.
Good question.
When are they supposed to start on the tax rolls this year?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I believe so. I couldn't say for certain with that. Or do they go on next year and they're getting raised now?
Were they exempt until 2015? So they will.
They must
They
have.
will pay 2015 taxes in next.
They must have got a 5-year exemption, isn't that kind of?
I'm guessing so.
That didn't pass. They just opened up for business last winter, did they?
Yeah, the propane, but the rest of it,
The elevator.
the elevator, the fertilizer plant and all that, that's been out there for a while.
You have reached the Griggs County Treasurer's Office.
So much for that, man.
Do you want to call her? Because I have her cell phone number that she said we could call her.
Well, yeah, let's, why don't we call her and ask her about the Hannaford elevator and if that is necessary to go on to this year's taxes or next year's. Because if it needs to be this year, that's quite a,
It's a big check.
right.
Hi, Miss Connie, how are you? Good. I'm good. The commissioners had a question about the propane elevator in Hannaford. Does that
No, Central Plains.
Central
Elevator.
Plains elevator in Hannaford? Does that go on the tax rolls this year or next year? It'll go on next year's. Okay, thank you.
And the
Alright,
propane
bye-bye.
plant too, because that's gonna, but the propane plant is separate from the elevator, right?
Right.
Did we give the appraiser that instruction?
I don't think we did. I think we just said to appraise the whole thing.
If they haven't started yet, maybe somebody should get a hold of them.
Yeah, because they'd like it appraised separately, because they, Harvest States owns the propane.
I volunteered Troy to get a hold of him.
I don't even know who it is. I volunteered,
Oh, Rickberg is.
I volunteered Samantha.
Okay.
Is it Crown Appraisals in Barnesville? Is that-
Yep.
I don't have a phone.
Okay.
I'll fix
And then
that.
have him appraise what separately?
The
The
propane.
propane facility from
From the
the
elevator.
elevator, the two different entities.
Okay, overlooked properties.
I suppose we know what that purchase property is, but it must be, we only sold the only egg one was that quarter, wasn't it?
40?
No, that quarter that we sold, was it 40?
40.
Yeah, 40 acres, yeah. I wonder how we arrived at the 4576.
I suppose it
that
was the
right.
minimum.
Yeah, I suppose that was.
I mean, that's $110 an acre.
Right.
Or
Whatever it might be.
whatever's not whatever's not in the water or
Yeah.
something. Might be 13 acres that's not in the water and the minimum is 309 or something.
Yeah.
Kind of ironic, isn't it, that the purchase price affects all commercial property, all residential property, but it doesn't affect ag property? Seems it's tilted one way or the
Because
other.
NDSU knows better. But keep in mind, if it did, if the purchase price did do that, it would be higher.
Yeah.
So, kind of glad that all the pasture in Griggs County didn't go to $15.75 an acre. Or,
Right.
or more than that, Dan paid $1,700 and something for that stuff up on the county line.
But just remember, when it turns down, it won't go lower either.
I know. Well, we gotta keep our heels dragging as much as we can. Motion to approve?
Move we approve the 2015 overlooked properties for ag, residential, and commercial.
Is there a second to that motion?
That second.
Seconded by Dale. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay, Tracy McCullough's resignation letter.
I thought, don't we adjourn the Board of Equalization meeting?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't think we do that,
Oh, is that?
just because it's a line item in your meeting.
Oh, okay. I was just thinking that Cindy had us have a separate one that we adjourned.
No, we recessed, didn't we, when we did that?
Yeah, I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, we didn't do, I just had it as a line item in here.
I just thought it had to be a separate meeting by itself.
It'll be okay, the state doesn't change it if they don't like it.
All right. Good point.
Motion to accept Tracy's resignation. She worked for one day.
She worked for 2 weeks, so it was a total of, well, she was out of business for one day, so it was a total of 5 days that she was actually here.
Look at him, he can't make the motion.
Hmm?
Look at him, he can't make the motion.
I don't see the letter.
It's on 39, page 39.
It's not a long letter.
Yeah, no, it wasn't.
Oh, no wonder.
Not signed even.
I make a motion to accept the resignation of Tracy McCullough as tax director.
Been moved by Dale to accept the motion, the letter of, the resignation letter from Tracy McCullough as tax director. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Seconded by Ron. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carries. Sorry, bud. So,
And then on page 38, Connie worked a lot on this tax equalization stuff, and she was here till 8:30 last night, and so she would like to be paid for that 4 hours that she was here. So she was going to bring that to me.
Yeah, I make a motion to pay Connie for the 4 hours.
been moved by John to pay Connie for her extra time. Is there a second?
Okay.
Seconded by Dale. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carries.
I
You were waiting.
Yeah, it was too late, okay.
No, I said you were waiting. Well, you were the only one who voted against it.
Yeah.
Tax director's position.
I contacted the other two applicants. The one has accepted a position somewhere else, and the other is still interested. If you guys would like to go ahead and,
What was that again?
I contacted the other two applicants that we had for the tax director, and one had accepted a position somewhere else, and the other is still interested in the position.
And somebody else expressed interest?
They expressed interest, but then the next day she got in contact with me and said that she's no longer interested, so.
I think we should probably advertise it for 2 weeks again. See what comes up. I do believe that we should probably increase the salary of it though. I think we should state it in the ad at an hourly salary and list the benefits and list the day and list the 3 days a week. And we put it in the budget money to do that with the expectation that we might have a hard time getting somebody here. I think it's not going to fall within the guidelines of the existing positions within the county, but it doesn't have to. Yeah, they're an employee of they work for the county commissioners, and there's certainly an indication that we need to put more money into it because we're not getting anybody to step up to the plate right now.
I talked to Tracy one of her first couple days here at court. I just stopped by to say hi, and she was overwhelmed. She always got put in office, and I spoke with, trying to help Tracy. I spoke with the tax director up in Nelson County, and she said she could help, but she recommended putting the new tax director here in contact with Barnes County right away because they have the same soils taxation that Griggs County does. And more than likely they would be willing to help someone else so they're not so overwhelmed next time.
Tracy also told me that she said that seems like a lot of work for a three-fifths position. So
I don't think you can make that determination.
a handful of days.
Any new job will see them that way.
It probably is a lot of work until you get up to speed.
Right.
So whether we up the ante, we make it a full-time position at the same salary, or we increase the hourly wage and leave it at 3/5. I think we need to do something to re-advertise it. The other option is to try to put the money into one of the department's offices within the county and see if and give the employees there a raise if they're willing to take it on. So far, no one's been jumping up and down wanting to do that. But that's always a possibility too.
So what do we think, a monthly salary then, or?
Well, I thought the $14.50 an hour was adequate, but you're saying we should increase it?
Well, I think we should either increase it to $20 an hour and leave it as a 3/5 position, or we should leave it at $14.50 an hour and make it a full-time position.
So
Evidently, we're not
it
going
would cost us the same money
Right, so why not do the full-time?
because of the benefits and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Kick in.
So, because evidently we're not getting enough applicants here. So there's only, I mean, short of holding somebody at gunpoint and making them do it, we have to make it lucrative enough so they'll do it. That's,
I guess something on the full-time side too, we may end up doing townships, or, you know.
With the stuff with the legislation and stuff
Well,
like
with
that.
as many have dropped off the map,
yeah.
the county might end up doing those, then it could easily be a full-time, I suppose.
Assessing all the other properties.
And then we'll get paid for that.
And I was in Nelson County's meeting the other day. There's something else that was going on with the legislative bills that they went through with the tax director's office. And wasn't really paying a whole lot of attention, so I don't know exactly what it was, but it's going to be another requirement that's thrown at the tax director or someone from each township. And I guess in Nelson County, what they're looking at is hiring another person, and the costs are going to be recouped by charging the townships and charging individuals for what it's going to cost to do this stuff.
But I mean, that could pay for the difference between being 3/5 time and full-time if we end up doing a lot of the townships.
Well, there was either a bill introduced that didn't pass or did pass, I don't remember. They were gonna require 80 hours of training.
That passed.
That passed.
Yeah.
And our assessor flat out says he doesn't have time to do all this training. He has a job.
That's for the assessors.
Yeah, he has a job.
Right, so with that said, maybe we're going down the wrong trail here, maybe we should just figure on hiring somebody full-time.
Full-time, yeah. I think that's probably gonna be what we're.
Okay, somebody want to put that in form of a motion?
I move that we advertise for a full-time tax equalization director at a starting salary of, what is it?
Say what?
What was the starting salary?
$14.50.
Huh?
$14.50 with a 50-cent raise after 6 months. Is what you said.
What you said?
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second the motion.
Seconded by Sean. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor? John?
Aye.
Dale?
Aye.
Ron?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Troy votes aye. Motion carries. I got the vote right there.
I think there should probably be another motion also that we make this available to either the tax director's office or the auditor's office, the budgetary number, the value of this position to either one of those offices.
The tax director's office, is that what you said?
The position of tax equalization director, I think we should make the money available to either
The treasurer or the auditor?
the treasurer or the auditor's office, and then leave it up to the department head to allocate the duties and the monies correspondingly for the services rendered. So take, for instance, it goes to the treasurer's office, and Connie thinks that she's going to do 60% of the work, and her assistant's going to do 40%, then they would split the salary accordingly to accomplish those duties.
Could it be made available to the recorder's office too?
I suppose it could. I suppose we can't discriminate, but I don't think Bob wants to do it. But
Yeah, she's got some experience, I think.
yeah, so maybe the 3 offices.
But we can do that during the budgetary process, can't we?
But don't you think?
You wanna make it
don't you think we
available
should give
now?
preference to that now? It would be my preference if instead of if we have 3 applicants and we have the recorder's office that's also an applicant, I'd like to pick between the 4. Maybe that's not feasible. I don't know.
In my mind, it would make more sense to do it that way because you have some cross-training and you have more people to cover the offices if somebody's gone, and, you know, but I don't think we can force that onto an elected position.
No, that's why I think we make it available.
Right.
We make it available. We send a letter out to each individual office offering that position or the dollar value of that position. So it's just a thought. I don't know if that.
It's a good option, I think.
Put that in form of a motion.
I would move that we make the tax director's position.
Budget? The budget?
Yeah, the tax director position available along with the budget to the recorder's office, the treasurer's office, and the auditor's office. Leaving the decision as to the accomplishment of the duties up to the head of each office.
Of that office.
Of that office, right. So again, if the recorder decides that she's going to bring in her office and she's going to do 60% of work, she gets 60%, her assistant gets 40%, and we have somebody going to the school, you know, and preferably both of them once it gets up and running. That would give us some continuity in the whole system if we could do that. And maybe we could pay for the schooling, maybe in addition, we could pay for the schooling if they both want to go. And if they're both going to school at the same time, it's not so overwhelming either.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second the motion.
Seconded by Sean. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Should we advertise in the Carrington newspaper or just Cooperstown?
Carrington probably wouldn't be a bad idea. They have 30-some applicants over there for their jobs.
We didn't get.
Do we want to make that offer first in the house before we advertise?
Well, I think, I suppose.
Or do we still want to see what's on?
I think we just let's lump it all together. We have. I think let's just take when we close, if we have maybe we have the recorder's office, the treasurer's office, and the auditor's office all competing for it.
Turning in bids.
Could we fight for that job, Sam?
That's always
Young couple, $30, use a little extra cash.
I mean, theoretically, it's quite a bit of money, additional money, and if it can be done in the house, and maybe somebody wants to do it. Maybe they don't. But we'll never know unless we ask.
Okay,
So advertising the Crouton paper.
Don't try Foster again?
We
They
tried,
sounded like they had a pile of applicants, didn't you say?
Yeah,
We did
Jimmy
it
Carr
over-
said like 30.
needs to be a better ad.
we did it over there for
Be
2
better.
weeks, and that's only got the 3 applicants, but they weren't even there. They were in Cooper, so
The ad needs to list the hourly wage, the
Benefits.
benefits. I mean, it needs to be more,
Yeah.
it needs to be fluffier.
I will get it all set up, and then can I send it
Start
to you,
with the
John?
partners.
It needs to, you know.
It needs to have the deadline for the applications to get into.
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
Can I send it to you once I get it all?
Ron,
Okay.
Ron's pretty good.
I was expecting it to.
You have to make
to
sure
go
that you
through.
have the required
I just
language
mentioned
too, that you want
I
the employer language in there too.
Say that again.
You have to make sure that you have the non-discriminatory language in there too when you put that together.
Yep.
Okay,
Would you like me to contact that other applicant and let her know that her application will be
Yes.
brought forward? Or-
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
okay, we need to approve the treasurer and auditor's report, or oath of office, I mean.
Want to get Connie the phone so she can hold her hand up?
She took it in front of me.
Oh,
Yep.
maybe a video chat then.
So you just need a motion to approve it?
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Okay, I move that the oath of office for Samantha Cross and Yes, be approved for auditor and treasurer.
Is there a second to the motion?
I'd second.
Seconded by Dale. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Travis needs a piece of plywood.
Some time.
With some time.
I move that we approve the request.
Been moved by John to approve Travis Palm's request. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Seconded by Dale. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John,
Aye.
Dale, Ron, Sean, Troy votes aye. Motion carries. Okay, did you guys want to go through, this wasn't on the agenda.
No, those are just revenue reports and expense reports just for your. you
Okay.
guys.
Okay. Old courthouse, new courthouse, anything else to discuss regarding that? What's this wiring business that I've been hearing a little bit about?
Well, I think, well, they put the air conditioners on the ground, too close to the electrical panels. They're supposed to be 36 inches apart there. And I know, I talked to John, and John talked to Scholes, and apparently Scholes really gave Bergstrom hell, because the kid out here was just kind of, he's saying, boy, you guys sure jumped on that fast. And he said, I guess we're just gonna leave it like it is, and if the electrical inspector rejects it, then we'll move. So they're just gonna hope that it gets passed.
Okay, I have the email.
How about those,
Oh, okay.
I have the email from Schultz here.
how about the wall mounted units?
That's what it's about.
Well, yeah, he didn't have the right wiring. He had the connections for the pad mounted units, and he came out here and saw.
Oh, so he's gonna come back and do
He's
those?
gonna have to come back.
Yeah.
Okay,
So I emailed Floyd today, asked him what he found out about the electrical problems with the courthouse. He said he talked to Jason, all is well, didn't have all the parts for the ductless units, but will be done shortly. So then I responded, so we don't have to move the units? Oh no. If anything has to be moved, the small disconnects from where they are off to the side units are contingent upon the building inspector. Any changes that need to be made are only minor.
not minor to move those things. They're recessed into the steel siding.
Yeah. He goes on to say that he has seen them where the electrical connects are mounted right onto the unit themselves. So he's leaving it all up to the electrical inspector. That's all I know about that.
So electricians and heating and cooling guys is like getting two accountants to agree.
Yeah, so we'll have to see what happens.
Lawyers.
Sometimes we agree.
We'll see what happens.
Do we want to do anything with Lindbergh Brothers pulling the bid? Do we need to formally approve going to the second bidder, F&S Concrete, for the same amount, I guess? Well, I don't know.
Yeah, we should if we're gonna do that.
Okay, I moved that since Lindbergh Brothers couldn't complete the project because of schedule problems, that we go with F&S Concrete for the same amount.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Seconded by John. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John,
Aye.
Dale, Sean,
Aye.
Troy. Yes. Motion carries. Anything else?
I should probably talk quickly about my research with the contract, I suppose. Been doing some research, been trying to talk with someone that will assist me with doing it. If we decide to sue after we decide there's enough notice. I haven't found anybody that feels comfortable getting involved in a situation. So I didn't have a whole lot of time to talk to a whole lot of different attorneys from different firms, but that's my first priority next week is to talk to some more people and see if I can find some.
Evaluate the contract.
Well, I think that
that's the step one.
Right. And I think based on my conversations I've had, I mean, it's a clear breach of contract and determine if that's the best way to proceed or not.
I see.
But like I said, I haven't talked with anybody that would really feel comfortable representing the county because they don't want to get in the middle of this mess.
But I think the only issue is the breach of contract. I think all the rest of it is secondary.
I think so too. I think to get the ball rolling, I think the breach of contract is what we want to do.
Yeah, and there's so much case law that deals with that. I mean, I think here's the lease agreement. What is the county's responsibilities? What are the building responsibilities? And leave it simple as that. And that's it. Either the contract is enforceable as it is, or it's not. If it's not, then it has to be redone. And that's that simple.
Yeah, John's exactly right. I mean, it's just the pleadings are going to be simple. Our allegations are going to be that we came into contract with clean hands, and we've not breached a contract, and the building authority has breached a contract.
We make payments. What are we making the payments for? The payments, are we entitled to the building once we make the payments? And if not, then I think we just leave it at that. I mean, I don't think we'll ever get by that. If it's different than that, then that will chart the course. Because we can't fight about it forever. If we get a court opinion in this that says that lease agreement is fine the way it is, and you guys just got roped into something you shouldn't have been roped into, we just got to swallow hard and finish this thing.
Yep.
And if it comes back the other way, then it will be out of our hands anyway, because the bondholders will be faced with a decision.
Yep.
So there can be no more speculating in this thing. Let's just get it done with.
Okay. I agree. Anything else?
I move we adjourn.
been moved by Sean, now we adjourn. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Seconded by John. Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Meeting adjourned. 4:56 p.m. Next meeting will be June 22nd at 1 p.m.